is a fear and a sense of shame and lack of trust in child and adolescent mental health services. A damning report yesterday found serious failings in the CAM services in South Kerry, where 227 children were exposed to risky treatment and 46 were harmed significantly after being prescribed inappropriate medication by a junior doctor. It's prompted an audit of all CAM services right across the country. Children's Ombudsman Niall Muldoon says the services need proper investment.
72 around the country. There should be over 100. So obviously we're really understaffed and under-resourced. We're also underinvested in mental health for children. The real thing here that strikes me is the concept of the lack of governance and support for this service, so that individuals were held to account. There was no case management, there was no data protection, there was no shared clinical diaries. So it really seems like a free-for-all as regards individuals ignoring the rules.
Meanwhile, a Donegal deputy has called for a comprehensive mental health strategy for young people. Speaking during statements in the Dáil on youth mental health, Deputy Pierce Doherty says the evidence is clear that much more needs to be done to support young people. He has warned that calls for additional help cannot continue to fall on deaf ears.
I could talk to you about constituents of mine, and we see the spike in numbers in the last year and years, where 1 in 5 young people who are admitted to mental health institutions are suffering from eating disorders. But the reality is the beds aren't there. When you look at the 3 public beds in the state, how many years, how many reports, how many times are we going to have headlines in papers? How many times are young people going to reach out asking us to do more, and yet only that to be falling on deaf ears?
A bill to make stalking a standalone criminal offence will move one step closer to becoming law today. The Fianna Fáil proposal will move to committee stage later before going through the Dáil and may be enacted within weeks. A person convicted of stalking could face a maximum prison sentence of 10 years. Senator Lisa Chambers, who has introduced the bill, outlines what the new law would cover.
And what it does is it defines what that is, so it's repeated unwanted behaviour, often characterised by fixation or obsessive behaviour on the part of the perpetrator that causes harm or distress. And then it lists out a number of things. Take, for example, harming somebody's pet would be included in that, attacking their home, their workplace, family. So there's lots of ways somebody can get to you without making direct contact with you.
And the possibility of school profiling being included in any hybrid model for the 2022 Leaving Cert has been described as unfair. It would mean a school's previous exam performance would be taken into account when assessing calculated grades. There have been renewed calls for the Education Minister to clarify what is happening with this year's exams. Weather now. Most areas will be dry and bright today with good sunny spells, just isolated showers. Temperatures 8 to 10 degrees. Back with more 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Have you heard the news? The Irish Independent has a new podcast.
We're not in the fairy tale business as journalists. We're in the truth business, and the question was there.
20 minutes, 5 days a week. The Indo Daily takes you beyond the headlines and into Ireland's most talked about stories.
So 25 years on, people are absolutely fascinated again with this case.
The Indo Daily podcast, named one of Apple's best new podcasts of 2021.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
A very good morning to you. 5 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 27th of January. You're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till noon show. The lines are open for you right now for you to get involved, to have your say on the issues we've lined up for you, or to raise your own. Caroline taking your calls this morning, of course, on 074 91 25000, 074 91 25000. If you want to text or WhatsApp the show, you know it's 086 60 25000. And your comments via email to comments@highlandradio.com. And you can watch us. Go to our website right now, highlandradio.com. You'll see the link there, and you can watch in your browser and converse with us there too if you wish. Right, a lot of newspapers out this morning, of course, it being a Thursday, and we'll start with the Derry People Donegal News, and we read that scheduled hospital services, including surgery, endoscopy and outpatient appointments, are returning to normal levels at Letterkenny University Hospital as the rate of community transmission of COVID-19 continues to decline from its mid-January peak. More healthcare workers have been returning to work from absences associated with the coronavirus. 4 weeks ago, over 300 staff were absent in Letterkenny. Yesterday, that figure had dropped to below 70, while there were 15 COVID-19 patients, infectious cases in LUH, one of whom was being treated in ICU. So down to 15, a significant drop. Only a few short weeks ago, it was up over 70, but still people will be hearing that and going, why can't we visit what's going on there? And I think a further decision on a national level is being made either the end of this week or next week, but people are very keen to have better access to our hospitals. It's not unique to Letterkenny University Hospital, of course. The Tyrconnell Tribune this morning, as Ireland's 2,000 practice nurses react with anger and dismay at being excluded from the €1,000 COVID bonus payment. Deputy Joe McHugh has queried the Minister for Finance with regard to widening the parameters to include the group and others who have worked on the front line since early 2020 and right through the pandemic. I'm sure he was told that a panel is being formed to look at it. But anyway, general practice nurses are employed by the GPs. They say that salaries vary across the service, and while much of the work is HSE related, they are not on the staff payroll. Therefore, they say they do not enjoy the same benefits of pension, sick pay or maternity pay as their colleagues in the HSE. On to the Donegal Democrat this morning, reflecting on that court case surrounding those that incredible night in Glenties in 2020. A Donegal-based detective Garda has told how he feared he would never see his family again as he confronted an out-of-control gunman. Detective Garda Enda Jennings told Letterkenny Circuit Court how he and colleagues came under fire from Stephen Dowling on Mill Road, Glenties on February 22, 2020. Dowling, carrying a .256 Remington calibre T3X bolt-action rifle, had fired shots through the windows of a passing car on the town's main street, shot 4 bullets through windows of 2 houses at Church Road and caused damage to the wall of another house on Church Street, which he also shot at. The Derry News this morning, they have a front page dedicated to the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Of course, it's the 50th anniversary, and they've got extensive coverage inside, including a 32-page supplement, as well as other coverage of that anniversary. The Irish Independent this morning tells us that wealthy households will not be able to give back their €100 electricity credit after the energy regulator turned down proposals for an opt-out scheme. I wonder how many people would actually opt out of that wealth. You're not often. It's the most wealthy, and we'll hear about that in a moment. It's the most wealthy sometimes that can be the most precious about money. Take, for example, that person within the HSE, an extra 81,000 he's now claiming. Does he really need it? He's earning, close on 3 anyway, but no, he wants that 81. But we'll get to that in a moment. So I'm not sure how many very, very wealthy people would give it back. I don't want to do them a disservice either, but I don't know. I wonder how many give back the child benefit. You're not obliged to take that either. The Cabinet was told Public Expenditure Minister Michael McGrath, whose department is sanctioning $215 million to fund the credit scheme, had sought an opt-out for householders who did not wish to receive the payment. However, ministers were told the Commission for Regulation of Utilities advised this was not feasible given the current systems that are required to credit the payments to domestic electricity accounts via bills. The CRU said in a statement that developing an opt-out function for wealthy households who are not in need of the grant or those who do not wish to receive it would delay the project. But I suppose it's in everyone's gift if they wish to donate the money to those less well off. Again, how many might? I don't know. Right, the Irish Times tells us that a decision to run a hybrid leaving cert this year could require the use of controversial school profiling to ensure there is consistencies in teachers' estimated marks, the government has been told. This was first flagged in 2020, and the complication is that, it judges schools on past performance and it would judge pupils within them. So say, for instance, a school did have a record at a certain level, but you had maybe 2 or 3 students who were far above that. they would be lowered down to the history of the school in the past. A lot of people would see that unfair. I wonder, though, they still would have the opportunity to sit the Leaving Cert, wouldn't they? But what do you think of this proposal? We can't have everything and tick all boxes. It's going to be complicated, and some people are going to be unhappy about it. What about using school profiling? Well, Taoiseach Micheál Martin and other party leaders were informed by senior officials that an accredited grades model based on teachers' estimates may need to draw on schools' historical junior cert results. This is due to the absence of junior cert exam data for about 25% of this year's Leaving Cert candidates who never sat the exam in 2020 when it was cancelled due to COVID-19 concerns. This data is regarded as crucial in the standardisation process, which aims to ensure teachers' estimates grades in different schools are equitably awarded. The government had planned to use schools' historical performance, as I mentioned, in 2020 when Leaving Cert exams were replaced by a system based on teachers' estimates. However, it dropped the pan following opposition claims it could penalise students attending schools in disadvantaged areas. Now, I can understand that. But as I say, there has to be a solution one way or other. The Irish Daily Mail covers, as do all papers, the shocking story of dozens of families. They're now set to sue the HSE after a junior doctor vastly overprescribed antipsychotic drugs to vulnerable teenagers. Now, the families are also looking for an apology following a damning report which found that Kerry teenagers suffering from depression and other mental illnesses were given heavy doses of drugs by the junior doctor. The Taoiseach called the report shocking and said a full audit will take place in all child and adolescent mental health services. But one father who said his son's life has been destroyed after he was wrongly given antipsychotic drugs told the Irish Daily Mail that the report didn't go far enough and that the treatment was catastrophic. And there were some families that received letters from the HSE saying that, you know, your child wasn't damaged due to the care given to them. But that was based off the fact that there was no medical records available for that child. They had been lost. So I think that's quite a favourable conclusion for the HSE. That is a story that is shocking. And we're going to be talking about that hopefully a little later on in the programme. The Irish Farmers Journal, they have an exclusive on the front of their paper. It focuses on factories that paid the best and worst prices. Its prices paid for our grading steers and heifers varied by up to €100 per head, over €200 per head price cap for young bulls. ABP most active for prime steers. Dawn Meats focuses on plainer stock. KPAC top for young bulls and heifers. Independents lead the way on cows. Pretty detailed, isn't it? That and much more inside that paper today. Andrew Windsor has formally responded to Virginia Gluffrey's lawsuit, denying he raped and sexually abused her, launching a fierce attack on his accuser. This is in the Star today. In a stunning reply filed in New York at one point, he argues she may have been responsible for her own abuse at the hands of Epstein and questioned if she ever did suffer. His lawyers state, assuming without admitting that Guthrie has suffered any injury or damage, Guthrie and or others who are not Prince Andrew contributed in whole or in part to the alleged damage. Shocking stuff. What a defence. And this is why people don't bring cases because, again, she's been put on trial again and, put on trial and a trial hasn't even taken place. All right, if you've mouthful of cornflakes or tea or coffee, swallow it now. This is in the Irish Daily Sun because the Department of Health confirmed yesterday that Secretary General Robert Watt is being paid his full €294 salary. But the massive paycheck has been described as a slap in the face to struggling families and businesses. This confirmation comes after questions were raised about whether the senior civil servant was still waiving a $81,000 pay increase he got when appointed to the role in April 2021. Watt said at the time he'd waived the raise. Well, that's not quite true. He says he would defer it, okay? So the language here is quite important, and the paper is describing it as waiving it, but my understanding is he actually deferred it. So if he deferred it, that means he could claim it back since his appointment. So I think that's a very important clarification, because waiving would suggest he's never to receive it. If he's deferred it, that means he's still entitled to it. He just is not taking it at this time. So if you owed me €10 and we deferred you paying me that €10, that means I would expect that €10 at some time to the future. But if I said to you that I'm waiving the €10 well then that would be the debt cancelled, wouldn't it? So I think they have to be very important or very clear with the language here. But the Health Department statement yesterday stated the Secretary General has confirmed that he's in receipt of the full salary for his role. Last April, Watt was appointed to the top civil service post at the Department of Health on a salary of €292,000. But again, I mean, by any metric is, and this is not a commentary on the people that work in it on the ground, so to speak, but by any metric, is the HSE performing well to the point where someone can receive €300,000 for working in it? I mean, what are his KPOs, or is that what they call them, the key performance, or KPIs, the key performance indicators? I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me, and that's not sour grapes either. I mean, if the system was being run fantastic, all well and good. Irish Daily Mirror, 2 men arrested over post office body. 2 men suspected of carrying a dead man into a post office to claim his pension were arrested last night. They were being quizzed on suspicion of deception, a criminal offence which can result in a 5-year sentence. Gardaí believe the pair brought Padder Doyle, 66, to Hosey's post office in Carlow on Friday. Staff quickly realised he'd passed away, and Gardaí then have confirmed his arrest. Okay. 086 60 25,000. Now, remember yesterday we were chatting to Pierce about the state of the footpath in Ballybofey in a particular area. And also then we went on to speak to Martin. And Martin has sent through pictures of the footpath, okay, and it is in a very, very sorry state. It has to be said that elements of the concrete would actually even appear to be crumbling, in inverted commas, and it really is awful. It's very uneven. It's very rough. I can't believe it's been allowed to remain in that condition, especially considering it's outside businesses. And Martin's mum fell over in October. And when he spoke to us yesterday, she was in physio. He sent through a picture of her, a lovely lady, but she has got both of her wrists in casts, and she's got 2 big black eyes and a cracked nose. That was last October, and still it hasn't been improved as far as we can determine. And Pierce's wife fell on it only yesterday. And since that, we've had numerous messages into the station saying other people, it seems to be primarily elderly people, have tripped and fallen in that area. It's just in front of the shops there, to the left from the Letterkenny side of McElhinney's. The footpath in an awful state. Have you had experience there? 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and texts, or call 074 91 25,000.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off everything in store. All kitchen and bathroom tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware, all cladding, everything's reduced. It's our biggest ever sale. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price January sale. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, our factory price leagues exclusively reveal which factories paid the best prices for your cattle. For more, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out where your factory ranked on price. We reveal the €128 per cow milk price gap between Arnua and the co-ops. Farmers should cull bottom 5% of animals to save on fertiliser bills, says Teagasc. And Tim Cullinan insists cap outcome is not a defeat for IFA.
Plus, don't miss our calves focus, only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Keep up to date with Inish Fitness Dunlow and download their convenient app today for news and information, to join online or to buy and book classes. There's also access to the Techno Gym app for tracking your progress and tutorials for using the equipment. Inish Fitness Dunlow, the future of fitness in West Donegal.
The Groom's Room at Evolve Clothing in the Letterkenny Retail Park has the best value and selection in suiting for your wedding day.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at
20 minutes past 9. Now, yesterday we had contact from a caller who asked why the play park close to Letterkenny University Hospital was closed. And we got onto the council to get an answer for you, and they tell us that the play park area is currently closed with refurbishment works to commence next week. So we appreciate the council giving us clarity on that. So hopefully it reopens sooner rather than later, bigger and better than ever. Right, Josephine joins us now from Newtowncunningham. Good morning, Josephine.
Good morning, Greg.
How are you keeping?
Not great.
All right, tell us why. Tell us what's happening at your home.
On what day was it? One day I discovered there's water in our garden last weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know where it came from. We contacted the council and they came out, checked. They said they couldn't find the leak. That was Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We had to ring them, contact them again. They came out yesterday, and there's water coming in from somewhere,
mm-hmm.
and so they checked that the digger out yesterday. They dug up, and they couldn't find where this water's coming from,
mm-hmm.
and said they put a meter on it and come back today. So far, I haven't seen them.
Now, how extensive is the water? It hasn't really rained, so we know this is not rainwater, I think we can presume.
Yes.
Is it how deep is it lying around your property? It's got worse, obviously, since you first noticed it.
In the front garden, there's a wall, and down at the bottom, it must be about maybe 6 inches. It's flowing out our front gate, and I couldn't go out in shoes on it now because my feet would be soaked.
So to get out of your own house, you need wellies?
I would to get out in one front gate, and it's flowing right down the front, down past other houses, and it's also flowing back into our backyard.
Right. Okay. Have you obviously the sooner this is resolved, the better? Are you concerned that it might further damage your property? I don't think it's fantastic for your garden, but
definitely not. But it can't. It's not getting into the house, like.
Okay.
No.
And do you feel that it can't happen? I don't know the layout. That's not likely to happen.
No.
Okay, but they initially came out, said there was nothing there. They've been out with a digger since. They've put a meter on it, and they're due out at some point today, you're hoping?
Well, they did that yesterday. They dug and they couldn't find. Well, there were plenty of water running. They didn't seem to know where it was coming from.
Yeah.
And I think it's coming. You see, there's a pathway outside our fence, and it has been tarred over a couple of times, but it's the council has that done. And I think it's coming from underneath there somewhere, but they didn't dig that up, so I don't know.
All right, but fingers crossed they get to the bottom of it. But you want to make sure they come out today because the situation is only getting worse.
It is, yeah, definitely.
And an awful waste of water. And I know you're inconvenienced, but it's an awful waste of water, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Josephine. Well, stay in touch with us. We'll put in an inquiry and see what the story is. And as I say, hopefully they get out today and get to the bottom of that for many reasons.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing it with us, Josephine. Thank you. All right. Have a lovely day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. That's Josephine there in Newtowncunningham. A caller wants to know where's the best place to get a decent pair of nail scissors. She's got 4 pairs of nail scissors and none of them would cut butter. Such a basic item and they cannot be got. Also, cannot find anywhere that sells nail files. Now, we try and help listeners with all sorts of problems, some less serious than others, but this person wants to look after the nails and can't get their hands on a decent quality pair of nail scissors and also nail files. Someone out there knows the answer. Come on, get in touch with us. Right. Concrete slabs should not be used on footpaths in towns. What's happening is they're laid on a bit of sand. Along comes a lorry or unloads the goods, drives up on it. Next, they're up and down everywhere. All town footpaths need at least 5 inches of concrete. My town, Maville, is the same problem. You know, I think you might be spot on there because it looks like these slabs have been displaced. But as I say, also the curbs appear to be crumbling, although that probably is years of cars bouncing against them. But still, there's a responsibility, I would say, to public health and safety that needs to be addressed there at some point. Caller says she also fell on that pavement, said she had a sore knee for a few days. Another caller says she fell around 2012. 2012, that's 9 years ago in the same spot when it was also, when the pavement was in the same disrepair. She's had to have surgery on her knee as the cartilage was damaged. Also badly cut face and found it hard to breathe at the time after it. She says she didn't phone the council because the general feeling was that they would do nothing about it. 10 years on and the pavement is in the same state of repair. Another person says they also tripped at the same spot 6 months pregnant. Well, very lucky to catch herself before going down. And as well as people texting the programme, I've had a lot of messages too on Facebook, people that would text me privately there saying they have fallen. So we have, I would say, conservatively speaking now, 10 or 12 people that have fallen at that spot. And there's been a mixture of broken wrists, 2 broken wrists with Martin's mum, 1 broken wrist with Pierce's wife. We had a pregnant lady who felt lucky that she managed to break her fall. Another had smashed her knee, damaged her knee, sorry, and is having to get treatment for it. That was 12 years ago. Greg, I know we talk a lot about speed in this county, but can anyone explain the idea of these speed vans sitting 100 yards inside the 100 kilometre zone? How is this saving lives? It would appear it's more about collecting money. Surely, if these vans are to make a real difference, then they should be situated in road black spots or on roads that are known for speeding. Are there figures for these vans that caught someone doing 101 in a 100 zone? I bet they're pretty high. I think there's a grace. I know there used to be someone that operated one of these speed vans that listened to the programme, and maybe they still do. They might tell us. That being said, maybe it's irresponsible to put that out, but I don't think people are being done for 1 or 2 kilometres per hour over the limit. Okay, but maybe it would be irresponsible if I were to suggest otherwise. Okay, but anyway. Also, they're located where there's been a very serious crash or a fatal RTC. That's how they're chosen. Now, we could argue the toss on that because I know there are people know where some are that there weren't. But that's the criteria that's laid down. So we'll see. I don't know if it's the exact same area, but there's a terrible hole on that footpath between cost cutters and the hairdressers. I fell into it while pushing my newborn baby. That newborn is almost 7 years old and that hole is still there. Okay. Right, teenagers and porn we were talking about towards the end of the programme yesterday. How else can teenagers be taught sex education, because the way they teach it in schools is not up to par? But you see, teaching it in schools is controversial because there's a big movement that doesn't want young people to be taught certain things in school, the realities of and stuff that might counteract pornography. There's quite a large resistance to that, right? And I can understand where those people might be coming from. Our parents then stepping in and having that conversation. I don't know. We're going to have to talk about it, though, one way or other, and in a way that most people agree with. But this caller says this is going to cause bigger health issues down the line, as young teenagers have no idea how STDs work, STD tests work, what sort of precautions they should be taking for their sexual orientation. And girls need to know more about the advantages and procedure of a smear test. Yeah, indeed. Right, okay. We are joined, I'll tell you, we'll joined on the programme now by Paul, actually. Hi, Paul.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Now, you're speaking about an experience your wife had.
Yeah, she was driving into Rafo Monday of this week, and I think she kind of just left Convy and she was heading in the road, and there was a hay lorry driving in front of her, and that lorry knocked a big branch off the tree, and that tree's hit the car, and it's caused over €2,000 worth of damage on the car.
Okay. This is a complex one, isn't it? Because is it that the tree should be trimmed back? Is it the lorry hitting the tree? At the end of the day, you're out $2,500. Who do you believe is responsible?
Well, I honestly, I'm in the same boat. We really don't know. I mean, I think it's probably in the council's remit to ensure the trees are cut back enough that the lorries can pass. But we do have a picture of the lorry, and we took it to the guards, and they believed that in Balfour, they believed that the hay was stacked too high. And that was the cause of it.
And is there then, I mean, is that an opinion, do you think, Paul? I know you're sort of talking about this to try and get other people's input. Did you get the impression from that conversation that the hay being stacked too high was an opinion, or is there actual, is there an actual legal height limit, I wonder?
I think there is a limit. I'm not an expert, but I think there is a limit. But I think they would have had to see the lorry in reality and probably measured it to see if it, to confirm that. But I think at this point, off a picture, I think it's just an opinion.
Yeah, and of course, the hay's not going to still be on the back of that lorry, so it's whether or not this picture would be, evidence enough.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the insurance company said, like, for us, we passed it on to the guards, and if they get any information, that they would take the case up if they could get any CCTV footage or anything like that. But you wouldn't know if they'd ever get that.
And you've also a decision to make. I hope you're fully comprehensive, but if you claim, obviously that's going to have an impact on your that's going to have an impact on your premiums going forward. It is claimable on your insurance, is it, Paul?
No, it is. Yeah, the insurance company have been, to be fair, have been very good, and we've had an assessment done, and hopefully they're going to get the car sorted. But
you're going to pay that You're going to pay that $2,500 back though, one way or other. It's going to harm your ability to shop around too, because they'll ask you if you made any claims in the last 5 years. You will have to state that you did. So it's going to cost you and your wife one way or other if no one else can be found to be responsible, I would say.
Yeah, we asked them what the impact was to no claims, and it's going to have a subsequent impact on the insurance for the next 4 years, with a reduction in the no claims percentage.
Yeah, again though, that kind of, they can name their price next year because you can't go anywhere really. I'm not saying they're that unscrupulous. I'm not saying it. Okay, just to be clear, but they know they've got you. They've got you for 4 years. Right, so what about the shock to your wife, though? Because it sounds like it was a right smack. It was definitely coming down from a distance, and she was travelling, towards it. It must have been a right old gunk for her, was it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, she was quite taken back, and at first it was kind of just shock. We were just happy that everyone was all right at first, but then you kind of get over that, and it's like, hang on now, we've got to foot a bill here, and it's got to be paid for. But I mean, thankfully she's okay. There's no lasting injuries, but yeah, it was an actual shock because it kind of hit the roof of the car first, so there's a dent in the roof of the car, and then came down and just bounced off the bonnet. So the bonnet, and that's got to be replaced on the car. Yeah.
A caller says that happened to me a few years ago. I had to drive after the lorry with no windscreen to get the lorry stopped. Soon after, though, the trees were trimmed. Now, maybe that caller might text us back. When they stopped the lorry, what happened? Did they say, did they take responsibility? That would be an important part of this. But we'll put it out there. We've already had one bite. We'll see what else. We'll see whatever else comes across our desk. But this is time sensitive because you have to make a decision sooner rather than later. Is the car drivable at the moment?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is drivable, but we're hoping to get it in fairly soon to get the repairs done on it.
All right.
It's literally only the car's only, not that it makes too much difference, but the car's only 5 months old.
Oh, it makes a lot of difference. I think. You're still probably washing it.
Yeah, exactly. Still tuck it in at night.
Yes, okay. Listen, Paul, leave it with us. We'll see what other people have to say. Maybe that person who sounds like a very similar situation. Let's see what happened when they might text us back and tell us what happened once they got the lorry to stop. What was that conversation like? And we'll see if anyone else has any other suggestions. Paul, again, pass on our best wishes to your wife, and thank you very much for raising that with us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, can you help? 086 60 25,000, WhatsApp or text. The shock of that alone. A caller wants to know if any listeners might know where to get Garton clay. It has healing properties, as some believe, and they wish to pass it on to someone who is ill at the moment. And Caroline, is this number here for me to read out about the Garton clay? No? All right, I'll come back to that because that might be the person with the inquiry. All right, we'll come back to that. Caller wants to know if any listeners might know where to get Garton clay. All right, back after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
In this week's RTE Guide, cover star Karen Coster on the challenges of balancing family life and career. Jason Byrne on health, happiness and humour. Plus meat-free meals, home workouts and healthy hikes. All in our wellness feature. Everything and more. RTE Guide On sale now.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor offers the most advanced skincare treatments for men and women, treating conditions such as acne, skin tags, rosacea and scarring. As a qualified aesthetics practitioner, Mary Ferry offers a range of anti-aging treatments including dermal fillers, thread lifts, profilo, skin boosters, microneedling and LED light therapy. Hair and makeup also available. Download the Genesis Salon app today or call 07495 325 75.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware, Milford Retail Park, now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New Bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware, 083 091 0707.
Now, Ruth Garvey-Williams is a volunteer at the Exchange Community Centre in Buncrana and joins us on the programme now. Hi, Ruth.
Hi, Greg. Good morning.
It's good to have you with us. Right, now, a report was conducted, a study was conducted last year and published towards the end of last year. But obviously, with everything that's been going on, we're only getting around to talk about it now. Tell us about the study. What was it looking at?
Greg, we wanted to listen to some of the ethnic minorities in Buncrana to hear their experience of coming to the community. Many folks have joined our community in the last 10 years. So they're quite new in Buncrana, and we wanted to find out what's it like from different ethnicities and their experiences of coming to the town.
All right, so how many people were involved in the study?
So we did an online survey with just over 130 people took part. And then we also did 10 interviews with people, different ages, different ethnicities, different backgrounds to hear their experience. And we had also a great focus group with some young people in Buncrana as well, just chatting to hear their views as well.
And those that took part are living in and around Buncrana, or
yes.
It was okay. So what, from your perspective, were the key findings?
Oh, well, one of the wonderful things is that ethnic minorities and the locals, of course, describe Buncrana as friendly, welcoming and safe. And I think that's fantastic news. I mean, it's good news. It's not all negative. A lot of ethnic minorities are feeling so grateful to have found a home in our beautiful town. And so we're really grateful for that. I suppose there is the reality, and the darker side is that the reality is people from, especially from Black, Asian or traveller backgrounds, have experienced racial abuse and have experienced discrimination or exclusion in some way, shape or form. And that is something that we're really concerned about.
And did they express in what forms that can take?
The most common, it seems, is racial abuse. Sometimes it can be a so-called joke or comments or
passive racism. I'm not trying to play it down. Is it sort of, passive racism rather than, words being shouted in the street sort of a thing? Is that not passive racism? I'm not sure the correct term I'm trying to use, but where the person may not fully realize that what they're saying is making a person feel uncomfortable.
We heard a bit of both. What you're describing there would be called microaggressions, those little things that people do and say that make somebody feel unwelcome or excluded. And that's quite that is probably the most common form of racism in a small town like ours. But we do also have the verbal abuse, the N-word, the really unpleasant and nasty. And we did have a small number of people who've experienced actual physical attacks or attacks on their property.
That are racially motivated.
That are racially motivated.
Okay. But as you mentioned, and you started off with a positive message here, I think it sounds to me maybe that the majority of this could be avoided with more education and a better understanding.
Absolutely, Greg. Actually, you've hit the nail on the head, and it was coming from our interviewees as well. They were saying, please just give us an opportunity to talk more, to talk about this, to help educate people. If somebody's walking down the street in a hijab, it might look different to a normal Irish Catholic, but that doesn't mean we need to be able to understand why somebody is wearing a hijab and understand that these are important and welcome members of our community.
Yeah, I think people have been conditioned to sort of maybe have an instant reaction to that between one thing and another. And really that just needs to be replaced with something of an understanding.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's two things here. One is that the really negative stuff is a very small minority. So those of us who do not want to see that sort of behavior in our town, in our communities, we need to be vocal. And also we need to listen to the voices of our minority communities who have so much to contribute, and they're really excited to contribute. I've noticed as a volunteer in a community centre that if you look proportionately, the number of volunteers who are not, originally locals, it's a much higher number. They are giving back, they are contributing to our community at a much higher proportion than locals. So
we also need that to be reflected though at a much higher level, and we've talked about, maybe representation in the civil service, for example, which seems to be actually where the power is at, or in the council chamber or the seats of power, and I think, I just think sometimes, and particularly in this program, I would love to hear more people, and you can't really judge whether someone has been here the whole life or whether they're new to being here, don't get me wrong, but I would love to hear people feel that they can text this program, for example, or call this program and say, this is my experience, this is how I feel. Platforms like this and the local papers, I think we could definitely get a better understanding and sort of iron out a lot of this stuff. But also I think that, it's lovely that people are volunteering, and that's very important, but I think really we'll only really see people feel that they're truly part of everything if they're represented at all levels of society, if that's the right way of putting it.
Absolutely, Greg. You really, again, you might have read the report, but it's fantastic.
Well, I didn't, but I've done a lot of this stuff. But go on ahead, Ruth.
Yeah, the key themes that were coming up, key themes of communication is essential. Often ethnic minorities are not hearing what's going on, and they're not able to participate in what's going on because they're not getting the message. And so, good ways of looking at how does radio, how does local newspapers, how do we become more inclusive in the voices we're listening to, or is it the same old, same old?
And that is two-way traffic, though, because we have seen through the pandemic and other situations, it could be any area of health or what have you, is that, a lot of people that have moved here and are very well integrated, their main source of information might be a news channel from whence they originally came from, or that might be where they're getting information. So they're not accessing, like I say, for instance, the HSE Twitter feed throughout the pandemic, right? Why was the public health message not published in different languages, for example? I couldn't understand why that's not happening at the highest level of government, so that you're reaching people that are getting information elsewhere or not getting any information at all. So that conversation benefits society, on more ways than we're simply talking about at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's where you touch on the places of power. And I think that's something we noticed in our reports. We need to see representation across the board at all levels. And we need the power structures of this country to understand that our country's changed. We are no longer, white Irish Catholic across the board. We need to learn that there are differences.
Well, it's 12%. It's 12% of the population. That is not. That is not insignificant.
Yeah, yeah. And not to see this as a threat. And I think that's something we need to be seeing this as a great strength of our country, that we are a diverse, a beautiful, amazing country. We can build on that richness if we can tackle the challenges and the problems and the barriers that people feel.
But without true integration, people become threatened, because what happens is people tend to live in the same area or mix in the same circles. And obviously you would see integration in the examples that you're talking about, but I'm on about more broadly. And yes. When that is the case, then, it allows people to either stir up fear or for people to actually fear the fear or feel the fear.
Yeah. Yes, and I think we need many more opportunities to meet and build relationship across the board. And we need more opportunities to encourage ethnic minorities to participate at the highest levels of power, so that we can have a richness. We've seen what happens when power is just restricted to a few people and the same people all the time.
But let's just say, can you imagine if someone from a minority background was in the council and issuing press releases or raising motions that affected those communities, how the conversation would change? It would be so much out in the open and public, and it would give us such an opportunity to have that conversation in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it would change the landscape greatly if that were to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's we talk about a lot of things to do with racism and discrimination. It is about power. It's about somebody deciding that they have the right to make the decisions and that these people do not. And that is what's so concerning. And that's where we need to see a change, a systemic change, if you like, and not be afraid of that, but actually see that as a real enrichment. In fact, one of the things I loved is that 62% of our surveys participants said that the ethnic diversity enriches our town, and we need to hold on to those sort of findings and know that is the truth. It really does enrich us.
And what do you think the finding? Well, it's just there's not. It can't ask you to presume this, but would it be interesting, or perhaps you did, ask the people of Buncrana, generally speaking, maybe those that aren't. New Irish or of an ethnic background, what their views are.
Yeah, part of our survey did that. The online survey, quite a significant proportion, almost 70% of our online survey were white Irish who've lived here all their life.
And what I think you may have touched on some of that, but what were the findings there?
Again, the vast majority were very, very warm and welcoming, although a large number were saying, we want to be integrated, we want to be anti-racist, but we don't know how. And this is where you come back to education and people saying, I don't know how to make friends with people from different backgrounds, or I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to say the wrong thing.
Well, that's it. There's an awful, particularly in this day and age, there's an awful lot of people might be afraid to put the foot in it.
Yeah. And what we found from our interviewees, where they're saying, just ask us. Just ask me why I wear this hijab. Just ask me why I'm a Muslim, or what as Muslims we do. Ask me as a Black person, what faith I have, or things like this. It's okay to ask.
Or have a conversation about what's your birth country, or where's your family from, because you might be surprised by the answer. Just because someone is Black, as you've described, they can be from so many different places, and that would be an interesting conversation starter.
It is indeed, but also we need to tackle this idea that you're not Irish if you're Black, or you're not Irish if you're Asian, because people who've been born here, who have maybe from mixed race, or who are born here, who are Black Irish, and they encounter this problem.
Of course,
people saying, where are you from? I'm from here.
Yeah, I know, second generation. That's why when I was setting up. That's why I said, where were you born, or where's your heritage? Just as I say, because that's how you learn. All right, okay, it's interesting. What I mean, there's no point in this just sitting around the place gathering dust and, you know, everyone patting themselves on the back and saying we did this study. I know that's not your intention. So what do you want? Where should this go from here? Do you think? I mean, we need to get to a point where we're not having two white Irish people talking about this, for example.
Absolutely.
You know, because that's part of. I'm not part of the problem. I hope you're not part of the problem. But you know, instead of talking at people, and we try and do it as much as we can, we need to be talking to people or not about them. You know.
So actually, the point of this survey was listening. So listening to empower change, listening to the ethnic minorities in our town, and we've made from there what they have said to us. We've made recommendations. So our plan as a community centre and in the local area is to use these recommendations to inform what we do. So for example, I think a positive example, the community guards in Buncrana came to us and said we'd really like to meet some members of the ethnic minority communities because we're concerned that there might be barriers to law enforcement in this country if they've come from a place where it's more of a war zone.
They also actually need to feel that they have a relationship with the Gardaí, and I believe that should have been done long before now, whereby if they are the victim of racism or a racistly motivated attack, that they feel that it can be reported and acted upon.
Absolutely, because as we know, racism is one of the most underreported crimes in this country. And so we need to be able to make those spaces. So what we did was run an intercultural coffee morning, and the guards came along and all sorts of different members of the ethnic minority communities in Buncrana came along. And that was a fantastic, really simple thing, but it got people to chat to one another over a cup of coffee and find out more about each other. And it's about breaking down those barriers that might be there, that are there, as we know. So I think those sort of things moving forward, everything we do now in the community centre, we're asking, how can our research inform this? How are we making sure that this event is not just for white Irish, it's actually for everybody in our community.
All right, Ruth, thank you very much for your time this morning. I appreciate it. An interesting conversation and an interesting study, in fact, as well. It's been great having you on the programme.
Thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate being there.
Take care of yourself. That's Ruth Garvey-Williams, volunteer at the Exchange Community Centre Buncrana, who conducted that study, which was overall positive, but obviously highlighted perhaps some predictable issues that are very easily addressed if the will is there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Download our new app today to apply and draw down your loan wherever you are.
What's that?
My new money toolbox. Here's a saw to help cut down my mortgage. And a spanner to tighten my outgoings.
What's the hammer for?
Nailing my credit card debt. Want to see more?
For free, independent tools and calculators to help you manage your money, visit ccpc.ie/money tools. From the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission.
Homeland Fuel offers, keeping you warm for less. 40 kg premium doubles or easy flame coal, buy 10 bags, get one free. 1 kg fire logs, 4 for €5. 12-pack wood briquettes, buy 2 for €10. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Central Auto Parts are now stocking Sunny, a water-based paint offering all up-to-date colours for all vehicles, and Celimix Commercial, the perfect paint for diggers, plant and machinery. Buy it today at Central Auto Parts, Portslink Business Park, Letterkenny. Find us on Facebook or call us on 074 9127 491.
Backstage Bar and Grill is open for breakfast, lunch and dinner 7 days a week. If you are looking for a healthy option this January, we have a great selection of delicious salads, sandwiches and more. We also have a tasty vegan menu. Call Century Complex on 074 91 21976 to book your table.
Looking for an easier way to get your prescriptions filled? Look no further. With our new Brennan's Pharmacy app, you have a simpler, faster way to manage your prescription orders. Just download the free Brennan's Pharmacy app from Google Play or App Store, fill in a few simple details about yourself and your medicines, and you're all set. From prescription ordering, daily medicine reminders, to messaging our pharmacy team directly, it's all at your fingertips with our new Brennan's app. Like to know more? Why not call your local Brennan's Pharmacy today for more information? We're here for you.
Driving a Fiat 500e is choosing an all-new, all-electric car with an impressive range and 0 to 80% fast charging in 30 minutes. It's choosing a car that's so full of tech it will confidently and safely drive you into the next decade. It's choosing to believe in a better tomorrow. Welcome back, future. Fiat 500e prices start at €24,995 after government subsidies. Book a test drive at Joseph Doherty Limited, Moville, or visit fiat.ie.
Now, as you will be aware, the average national price of petrol is currently at 170.3 cent per litre. Diesel stands at 160.5 cent per litre. We're not far off record prices here. Anna Cullen is spokesperson for AA Ireland, joins us on the programme now. Hiya, Anna. How are you? Can you hear me okay, Anna?
Hi, good morning, Greg. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. There's a slight delay on the line, but sure, it'll catch up. Right. I mean, obviously, we are impacted by what's happening around the world, supplies and all that kind of stuff. And we can talk maybe a little bit of what impact the Russian situation might have on it. But, you know, a lot of the cost here is tax as well. What's the rough breakdown there?
Yeah, Greg. So 60% of what you pay at the pumps is tax. So if the prices at the minute are 170.3 cents per litre for petrol, as you said, and 160.5 cents per litre for diesel, the price before taxes are added would be about 75 cent. So 1/3 of the price that you pay at the pump is tax. Now that's a breakdown of excise, which includes carbon. Now, if you look at the budget last year, €7.50, you know, it increased to €7.50 in the budget of last year. So that's quite a lot. And that will continue to increase until 2029. Then you also have VAT, which is about 20% as well. So that's quite a significant chunk of money to be paying at the pump. So I suppose it is in the government's remit, well, it is, you know, to reduce these taxes and to help consumers out, because at the minute it's quite concerning. And you know, it is quite worrying for, you know, people living in rural areas or lower income families who are suffering the most, because as we can see in the news recently, you know, the cost of living in Ireland has increased. We're the 16th most expensive country in the world. We're 24% less expensive than New York, which is, it mightn't seem like a lot, but that is a lot. And you know, it's just worrying. I live in Tipperary, I live in a rural area, I don't have the public transport option, so we do rely on our cars, so something needs to be done. Yeah, and of course, too, there's say, for instance, the alternative. There is a shortage of electric and hybrid cars out there, and also, you know, you have to refuel them too, and that's another cost that's increasing. Absolutely, and, you know, we do know that there were grants in place for plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. They were taken away just in December. Just gone, or January 1st. Now there are incentives for battery electric vehicles of up to €5,000 and a home charger grant of up to €600 as well. And we do know that the government are planning, or they're urging people to go towards electric vehicles. They want to get about 1 million on the roads by 2030, but they have set out these targets. They have been missed. They set out a target in 2008 of having 230,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2020. Now that was missed by about 200,000 vehicles. We do know at the minute that there is about 47,000 electric vehicles on the road. 15,000 of those were in 2021. So unless we meet these targets, you know, we're not going to get anywhere to help with climate change or global warming. And because of those two things, the government, not least because this is a massive revenue maker for them, the government's very unlikely, is it, to discount petrol by reducing tax on it? I mean, we can hope, but that's not going to happen. And there's nothing to suggest that we'll ever see these prices in terms of the road product itself tumble back to previous levels. So is this something we are going to have to live with? For the foreseeable, yes. Like, we don't see fuel prices coming down anytime soon. It is due to a combination of reasons why the cost is so high. I did mention it was tax, but you also have the cost of oil as well, which I think it's about $86 today when I checked, and last Friday it was going for $88, which is the highest seen since 2014. You do have to understand. All right, that line is failing on us there, but we definitely got the message, and it's not a very favourable message for us, is it? That's Anna Cullen, spokesperson for AA Ireland. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after we take the news and obituary notices. Stay right where you are.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. The Seanad has been told that giving people the right to ask if they can work from home is meaningless in many rural areas of Donegal, where the rollout of broadband is still a long way off. Independent Senator Eileen Flynn said Donegal and other rural counties should be prioritised in the National Broadband Plan rollout, but instead the county is one where almost nothing has happened so far. Senator Flynn said a decade after the then Minister Pat Rabbitte described broadband as the rural electrification of the 21st century, most of rural Ireland, including much of Donegal, has been left behind.
There's many people, many areas in this country that won't even see the rollout until at least the end of the year, and that's very disheartening for people nowadays. And Taoiseach announced that people have the rights to act, can they work from home. How can we expect people from Donegal to have the equal opportunities to be successful, being able to work from home, while many of them don't have that?
Controversial school profiling may have to be used if a decision is taken to opt for a hybrid leaving certificate this year. A decision is expected soon in relation to what form the state exams will take this year, but according to the Irish Times, the government has been advised that profiling may be needed to counteract grade inflation. There are calls for the Passport Office to open 7 days a week. The Irish Examiner reports this morning the office is set to be flooded with up to 1.7 million applications in the weeks and months ahead as families scramble to book foreign holidays. There's already a backlog of 113,000 passports in the system because of disruption caused by COVID lockdowns. A Donegal deputy is calling for a comprehensive mental health strategy for young people. Speaking during statements in the Dáil on youth mental health, Deputy Pearse Doherty said the evidence is clear that much more needs to be done to support young people. He warned that calls for additional help cannot continue to fall on deaf ears.
I could talk to you about constituents of mine, and we see the spike in numbers in the last year and years, where 1 in 5 young people who are admitted to mental health institutions are suffering from eating disorders. But the reality is the beds aren't there. When you look at the 3 public beds in the state, how many years, how many reports, how many times are we going to have headlines in papers? How many times are young people going to reach out asking us to do more, and yet only that to be falling on deaf ears?
The Department of Transport is warning ships of a serious safety risk next month when the Russian Navy begins military drills. It's shared the coordinates of the exercise, which it says will involve naval artillery and rockets. The Russian ambassador to Ireland will meet with fishermen later this morning ahead of their planned protest against the drills. Chief Executive of the Irish South and West Fish Producers Organisation, Patrick Murphy, says as far as he's concerned, the department's warning is addressed to the wrong people.
We're going there first, so their boats will come afterwards. So if they're coming to where we're going fishing, it isn't us in their way, it's them coming in to create the danger. So the right notice was sent to the wrong people. So when you're undermining people's positions and stuff like that, I think the government are doing that a damn good job at that themselves.
A bill which would see a person convicted of stalking facing up to 10 years in prison could become law within weeks. The Fianna Fáil proposal would make stalking a standalone criminal offence for the first time in Ireland. It's being discussed by senators today before moving through the Dáil. Senator Lisa Chambers, who introduced the bill, says there is widespread support for a change in the law.
I'm not expecting any opposition during the second stage debate, barring the department's view not being overly strong on this. Every other party was supportive of this, and independent as well. So there is wide cross-party support for this legislation and public support as well.
Looking at the weather forecast, most areas staying dry and bright today with good sunny spells, just some isolated showers in places. Feeling pleasant with highest temperatures 8 to 10 degrees Celsius, mostly moderate west to northwest breezes, fresher in coastal areas. Tonight it'll be cool and dry under broken cloud. Frost and possible icy patches developing along with some mist or fog. Lowest overnight temperatures 0 to 3 degrees Celsius in light variable, mainly southerly breezes. Rather dull tomorrow with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Amounts will be fairly small, though, away from the Atlantic area, with the chance of some brighter spells across the further eastern parts of the region. Relatively mild on Saturday, highest temperatures 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Good morning.
The obituary notices for Thursday morning, the 27th of January. The death has occurred of William McLaughlin, Davy, Quill Carandonna. His remains will be leaving the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny, today at 3 o'clock, going to his late residence. Funeral arrangements to be confirmed later. Family, friends and neighbours welcome. The death has taken place of Mary McCluskey, Ní Malloy, Ardcearthan, Kiltoy, Letterkenny, and formerly of Derrybeg Githor. Mary's remains are reposing at her home. The house is private, please. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:30, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, for 12 noon Requiem Mass, which can be viewed live on facebook.com. Interment afterwards in St Columba's Church Cemetery, Dromahol. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Society of St Vincent de Paul, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Joe Gallen, 9 Garvablain Road, Castlederg. Joe's remains are reposing at his late home. Funeral from his late home on Saturday morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Ahayarn, via Cairn Road and Tiernamungan Road. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Mass can be viewed via the Ahayarn Parish webcam. The death has taken place of John Mandy Gallagher, Creasla. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral Mass in St Michael's Church, Creasla, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, followed by burial in Doe Cemetery. The Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or James Harkin, funeral director. The death has taken place of Mary Devine, Ní Sweeney, Claudy, County Derry, formerly of Derry Connor, Gortha Hork. Her remains are reposing at her home in Derry Connor. Funeral Mass in Christ the King Church, Gortha Hork, this morning at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjacent graveyard. The funeral Mass can be viewed live on MCN Media or the Kieran Rorty Funeral Director Facebook page. And the death has taken place of Vincent Barron, Deer Park, Convoy. Vincent's remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there this morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Eunan's Church, Rafo, which can be viewed on the parish webcam. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The house is strictly private, please, at the request of the deceased. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, so obviously a lot of conversation taking place as it relates to Russia's planned activity off the southwest coast, 240 kilometres from land, and it's been confirmed that that's going to start on February 3rd, which, believe it or not, is a week today. February 3rd is 1 week today, can you believe it? Another mortgage payment. And it's going to last for 5 days. And we're going to be speaking to, hopefully a little later on, fishermen who are going down to protest it. I wouldn't be at it, but anyway, obviously they're concerned about stocks and the impact it might have on them, and fair play to them. This caller says, though, morning Greg, didn't NATO conduct naval exercises in the Black Sea a few years back? Where were all the Save the Dolphin campaigners and environmentalists back then? I don't know. Can't remember. That lady that you had on seemed very nice, but she made one of the tongue-in-cheek remarks that only adds to racism. She said Ireland is no longer a white Catholic country, and I think what she means by that, it's not exclusively now a white Catholic country, you know, and that is a broad statement to perhaps describe what many would have viewed Ireland as, okay, but it's not. It's a more diverse country. It's not simply just that. That's how I believe that remark was motivated, and perhaps I would say you could insert the word, it's not exclusively a white Catholic country. But anyway, this caller says we must, and that we must accept it. That's exactly what many Irish people fear will happen with the large number of non-nationals coming into Ireland, and many won't accept that change. I get where you're coming from, and I understand that, and some people are very, very passionate. I mean, you could look at the churches and chapels of a weekend, and maybe, you know, they're not exactly wedged, are they, either? So whether people were coming into the country or not, I suspect things have begun to change in this country, which some people won't like. But as I say, even pre-pandemic, look at attendance and what have you. A lot of the time, people, the only time they're in there is for christenings, confirmations and weddings. That might be controversial, but recently registered a daughter for basketball have been waiting on a list for a long time. Children who have not been on waiting lists at all are let straight in. There seems to be a lot of internal politics involved, as in children of friends of the organisers or children already involved in Gaelic. This seems to be happening quite frequently, and a child's inclusion should not have anything to do with the background or who they know. Has anyone else experienced this? What an interesting question. Trying to enrol the child, in this case, in basketball, but they're always put behind friends of friends or people who might be associated with whomever is running this. Have you seen that before? Is that something that's quite common? Get involved. 086 60 25,000. This caller says, as Irish people, it is only fair and right that we should be welcoming towards all guests into the country, but it's also important that people coming here from other cultures would respect Irish traditions, way of being, so that we can all prosper together. What do you mean when you talk about respecting Irish traditions? Could you get back in contact with us and tell me what you mean by that? What are our traditions that you feel that others aren't respecting? It'd be an interesting conversation. On the issue of mental health, a family member went to a unit locally but did not receive the right treatment, observed the treatment within the unit at the time and liaised with the consultant at the time to discuss the medication he was receiving, as they seemed to be making him worse. But the consultant said that if he refused to take the medication, he would not be released. A caller said that she trusted the advice of the doctors even though she didn't really want to, and it resulted in side effects including extreme weight gain and the patient being in a catatonic state. He became uninterested in self-care such as exercise. The consultants were adamant that this had nothing to do with the medication, but when the caller looked into the side effects herself, everything her family member was experiencing was noted as a side effect. Caller has been fighting constantly about this. Is there anyone else in this county who has suffered this? Now, they might be looking then at that revelation from Kerry and going, right, okay, this all feels very familiar. Would this be picked up in that review of the calm services that the Taoiseach was talking about? But has that been your experience of accessing those mental health services in the Northwest as it relates to the type of treatment and what impact, negative or positive, it had on you or your family members? By the way, thank you to everyone who contacted us offering Garton clay to the lady who was on to us earlier on. We're going to pass the information on to that person. So thank you very much indeed. A caller says, do people still have to get the booster now that they don't have to show when going out? That's your personal medical decision. The general consensus is that the booster is effective in combating the worst effects for most of Omicron and this new Omicron variant, its brother or sister that is now emerging in other countries. I think Norway, it's due to be the dominant strain shortly. It's seen a massive peak in cases. They have a population similar to ours, 40-odd thousand cases, but it hasn't resulted in any extra hospitalisation or death. And the Norwegians, the officials, obviously I'm sure there's people in Norway would disagree, are putting that down to the vaccine rollout. Right, if you go to Churchill, anyone with the name Friel can lift it for them, but we've got that sorted, but thank you very much for that. My daughter, after being on antidepressants at age 13, was put on antipsychotic drugs at age 15, risperidone and olanzapine. At the same time, she was on large amounts of tranquilizers, and there's many children who've been on these in Donegal, over-medicated children and adults for many, many years, many in their 20s, overdoses of treatments. It's about time mental health over-medicating is being looked at. Okay, that's an interesting point. This is historic. This is not something that's just come about right now, they say. Read the lorry in the tree coming down. Same thing happened to my daughter a few years ago. She claimed against the lorry's insurance company and was successful in her claim. Okay. Stop the lorry. Guards, this is the other caller who, remember, we asked for them to provide more information. Stop the lorry. The guards came and the lorry man was worried about the height of his load, but it was a company car, so I'm not sure who paid. So they don't know whether or not the company fixed the car or the lorry fixed the car, because, you know, they were just the driver at that point and they stepped out of it. Other people saying whoever owns the tree is responsible. But there's a lot. I've been sent this happens quite a bit. I've been sent pictures by people on Facebook of the exact same thing happening to them. You would think it was very rare, that it doesn't happen very often, but that simply is not the case. And looking at some of the damage to the vehicles, I can say Eddie contacted me. He says, and he's provided pictures, this happened to me about 6 years ago between Lift and Ballindrate, as it was a company car. I'm not sure who paid for it. Had to drive after the lorry for half a mile to get his attention. Lorry driver was worried about the height of the load before Gardaí came. Soon after, though, the trees were trimmed. And to be honest with you, looking at the lorry that Eddie sent in, it doesn't look particularly overburdened to me. I would have thought that's not far off the height of an Arctic. Maybe it's, a metre above the height of an Arctic, but it doesn't look overloaded. But anyway, his car, front windscreen smashed and the roof dented in. I would not like to have had to pay for those repairs. But anyway, listen, thank you for that and keep them coming into us. It's interesting how many people have shared experiences. Good luck if you're playing the bingo today. It is jackpot day, so the big money is up for grabs. We'll be back after the numbers and a quick break.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 27th of January, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €8,200 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S19. It's game number 4. The jackpot number is 7. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 13, 79, 74, 39, 6, 56, 23, 63, 72, and finally 9. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Are you at that stage of choosing a primary school for your child next September? Parents in the wider Buncrana area have the additional option of Gaelscoil Buncrana, which is a well-established Irish-speaking primary school situated on the beautiful Inishowen Peninsula. Enrolment for Gaelscoil Buncrana has now begun, and we welcome all queries from parents who speak Irish and those who don't. Transport is available for pupils in the Buncrana, Carndonagh and Burnfoot areas. For appointments, please contact gsbc1999@gmail.com or visit our website at gaelscoilbuncrana.ie.
Who's my Lachna Hebra and Gaelscoil Buncrana?
At Smith Steelside, we offer a wide range of yo feed, rich in high-pro soya, cereals, vitamin E and selenium. Smith Steelside, market leaders since 1865. Call us today on 074 9171 300.
Discover the Dunnes Stores app and put better value at your fingertips. Tap to browse all our latest grocery offers. See all your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers stored in one place, and scan your Value Club card to earn points. All within the app, saving you time and money. Plus, download the app today and you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Donegal County Council want to hear your views and invite you to get involved in the preparation of an outdoor recreation strategy for Donegal. A number of online consultation events are running across the county from the 31st of January to the 9th of February, and online survey until the 22nd of February. Sign in and have your say. Visit donegalcoco.ie to find out more.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. On to it now. We welcome Independent Deputy Thomas Pringle. Thanks for joining us, Thomas. Good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Right, you took part in a Council of Europe debate on Tuesday, focusing on, is it supports for the LGBTQI community or the challenges that community faces, or what was the nature of the debate?
The debate was basically that there was two reports being debated from the Committee on Equality and Non-Discrimination of the Council of Europe. One was on combating rising hate crime against LGBTI people in Europe, right across the board. And then there was one specifically then on the violations of the rights of LGBTI people in the Southern Caucasus, which basically is Georgia, Armenia, and places like that there as well. So it was a wide-ranging debate, and it covered all countries of Europe as well, and it's interesting in the report on the combating rising hate crime. It outlines every country in Europe has a problem, and it outlines that it actually appears to be part of an organised campaign rather than individuals or people expressing concerns locally.
So there are people, is it, in the background pulling the strings, maybe tapping into people's I don't know, insecurities or concerns or whatever, and you know, people who perhaps even might feel they're actually free thinking are being manipulated by, you know, puppet masters. I'm not calling these people puppets as such, but you know that this is there that level of organisation?
I actually think there is, and I think worryingly as well, it's in the political system and in the governmental system as well, right across Europe, and basically it seems to be attacking the rights of transgender people and the rights of transgender people to participate in society, masking then attacks on further rights against women and children and that as well. And that seems to be across the board in the UK, Holland, right across I suppose you call them the established or the normal democracies in Europe. And then we extend into Hungary, Poland, and right down into the Caucasus, then where it is a lot more violent. But it is a very worrying trend, I think, and it actually will undermine further people's rights. So as transgender people today, it will be women tomorrow and children the day after that as well, and that's what's worrying about it.
It's a complex problem. It's a worrying problem, but the complexity comes from, like, there are other organisations that represent, you know, like LGB communities that have branched out because they themselves have concerns or issues with the T element of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wouldn't be an expert, Greg, on that. But there is a lot of, and this is one of the hallmarks of the opposition, is that basically groups will set themselves up as a women's rights group to protect women's rights, and will campaign against transgender people on that basis. And I don't know this for definite, but I would imagine that's quite possible that somebody else could set up a group as being LG group.
You could, of course, yeah, of course.
As well, you know, and that is part of the problem, and that needs to be protected against.
Well, countries like Ireland, we don't have any specific legislation on hate crime, and we were talking a little earlier on about, and it's by coincidence, about minority groups, you know, and how their reporting of racist attacks is dealt with here. But if a country is not seen to legislate for these types of issues, well, you know, I mean, it would give these groups the impression that it's not being taken seriously or it's not a great concern, and it adds fuel to the fire. If you get where I'm coming from, it's a roundabout way of saying it.
Well, I think that's true, Greg, and it does add fuel to the fire. And you know, in Ireland we are in the process of bringing the legislation forward, but that'll take a number of years. Even with the best will in the world, with it happening as quickly as it can happen, it's going to be probably a couple of years before we start reporting crime on that basis on that basis at all. So that's going to be really difficult. And I think that also what it does is it undermines our position in taking the stance to protect other communities through the Council of Europe and stuff like that there as well. And that's something that we have to be very aware of as well. Now, the Gardaí have introduced a kind of a working hate crime definition that's to be used and to be reported on, but unfortunately, we've seen problems with the Gardaí reporting crime figures as well, and they're not required actually to report crime in terms of somebody's race or ethnicity.
And if we don't report crime, we don't record crime. It's understated, and therefore it doesn't get as much attention as perhaps it should, and it certainly doesn't get any resources. So you wouldn't see necessarily the establishment of a particular unit to deal with a particular problem, because you would say, well, sure, look at. We've had very few reports of it, but what can you input into the Pulse system to address some of these complaints? It's it's a big circle of going nowhere.
Yeah, it becomes a self-sustaining cycle then, because basically what happens then is people from the trans community, because they feel that their complaints won't be investigated or can't be because of the legislation, they won't bother reporting. So then the Gardaí then say, well, the figures are very low, but they are low because people don't report, and then they don't report again, and the figures get lower again. And that is a problem, and that's something that we need to address urgently, I think, in this country.
Yeah, it is, it is a complex issue, because then there is a debate, and almost to an internal debate about, maybe making hormones available to teenagers and other issues as well, which I think is also employed to sort of whip up. It's a probably justifiable concern. Sorry, so for some people you don't have to whip it up, but it's a very complex area. Was there a sense from this debate on Tuesday that the problem is worsening? That maybe people with opposed to other things are now maybe finding their attentions moving on to this issue?
Well, that's really the concern of it, and the report there is published on the Council of Europe website. If any of your listeners want to go and have a look at it, I think it's well worth a read. And it highlights over all the countries in Europe that there is problems and there's ongoing problems, and it does say that it is part of an overall problem rather than being a problem of transgender people themselves. They're being targeted at the moment, but it's only part of a smaller and a wider scale of targeting of people and undermining of rights across the board, and that's a danger. At some point, then if we impinge on transgender people's rights, then who's next after that? And that's what we have to be worried about, I think.
All right, listen, thank you very much indeed for that. That's Independent Deputy Thomas Pringle there.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Multiple loan payments causing you stress? Why not talk to Letterkenny Credit Union today about a debt consolidation loan?
Well, Davy, brilliant that you weren't in work today. We had some crack. It was Peter's last shift, so we all went out for lunch. Thanks for staying away. The lads are delighted. Chat to you soon. Mind yourself.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
Need a new part for your Ford car or van? Why not call to OMS Auto Parts in Buncrana? With a massive stock of Ford parts, you're sure to get the part you need. Free next day delivery on orders over €50. Call 074 9361924 or shop online at omsautoparts.ie.
For a healthy start to 2022, check out the great range of food available at Kelly Centre in Letterkenny. With healthy options throughout the store, there's also the Green Kitchen Deli, offering fresh, nutritious food to go. Choose from a full menu of delicious sandwiches and salad boxes, or build your own option, all made on site and prepared fresh to order. Jumpstart your healthy lifestyle at Green Kitchen in the award-winning Kelly Centre, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Ready, Steady, Grow Childcare Centre, Ballabafay, requires a deputy manager with level 7 or 8 childcare qualification, a full-time childcare assistant with level 5 or 6 qualification, a part-time childcare assistant and 2 child assistants to cover maternity leave. For further information, contact Paula on 0749 190 151 or send your CV to info@rsgchildcare.com.
Want to accelerate the growth of your new business? Entrepreneurs in Derry City and Strabane District Council areas can now apply for a new Startup Accelerator programme. Eligible participants can avail of free professional support, access to incubation facilities and business grants. The programme is open to businesses who are currently on or have recently completed the Go For It programme. To apply, contact your local enterprise office, Enterprise Northwest or Strabane Enterprise Agency. This project is funded by the UK Government through the UK Community Renewal Scheme.
Win with low prices from SuperValue. With great offers like SuperValue Fresh Irish Sirloin Steak, save 40%. Epic! Fairy non-biopods 57-piece, now €10. Smashed it! And Finca La Barca Reserva, save 33%. Winning! Win with SuperValue low prices. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
The time is 29 minutes past 10. Someone they haven't messaged themselves, they've just cut and pasted a Facebook comment referencing the... there's a massive truckers' convoy over in Canada. It's 50 kilometres long, some say. They're saying, why is it not being discussed in Ireland? Is there a media blackout? No, there isn't, but I know exactly the profile that you cut and pasted that from. It'd be much better to get your own views, but be that as it may, it's since when did we cover Canadian news here anyway? I mean, it's about vaccine mandates over there, which we currently don't have in the same form they have in Canada. And fair play to them if that's what peaceful protest's all about, and maybe they'll get what they are campaigning for. Right, a couple of requests here. Sarah McLaughlin, Carndonagh Community Hospital. Happy 98th birthday to you from your sons, James, John, Joseph and Liam, and all of us here at Highland and listening to Highland. Have a great day, Sarah. Fiona McLaughlin's in Malin. Happy birthday to you from your big brother, Christopher, in Melbourne. Hopefully you're listening. He's sending his love to you from right across the world. Here is a more recent take on Leo Sayers' Thunder in My Heart. That is Leo Sayer, Thunder in My Heart, his collaboration there with Mech. Right, Cotton Clay, by the way, sold in key rings in the shop at Ard's Friary, I'm being told. So I think we have that covered now. Thank you so much for all of you who took the time to get in touch. Stones falling off lorries and trailers all the time as they're loaded to the top of the crids, and they can get no more on. That's another problem, a caller says. Another, if you allow the government to break the law because of an emergency, they'll always create an emergency to break the law. Okay. What do you suggest we do? Hi, Greg. Went to a filling station this morning. The card or tapping machine was not working, so couldn't pay for my fuel. They were saying the system was down. I had to go and get cash. Then it just shows these systems are not very reliable. Imagine if it was a cashless world. The young ones nowadays are just tapping with their phones. They've no concept of money. Well, they've no concept of cash money. I don't know. I have no view on that, but I don't carry around cash, which is problematic for people who need cash, and it's awkward to get at banks and gets parked. I've just adapted to pretty much a cashless way of living. Just another request here, by the way. It's a big happy birthday to Hannah Foy, who's 17 today. Please play Dancing Queen by ABBA from the St. Columba's TY Ladies 1620. I missed that, so we didn't get to play that particular song, but we certainly played the request. Speed vans and their locations. This caller says speed van sits in Buncrana Main Street a lot of mornings. I wonder how it gets on, so to speak. Does it pick up? There's one in Donegal town regularly at the chapel there, and I would say it is like shooting fish in the proverbial barrel. Hi, Greg. The teenager's mental health crisis goes a lot further than the junior doctor. Doctors in Ireland are not equipped to deal with mental health issues and simply throw medication at anyone who's shown signs. And when you do get a referral to the service, they're nowhere near up to par. I hope this investigation uncovers something much larger, so we can start fresh with an effort for young people's mental health. Indeed. And, I think often medication is gone to because the expertise in terms of, counselling or help, face-to-face help is not there. And what do? They say, right, well, here's medication. I think it's used to sort of paper over the cracks in the level of expertise we have available, to meet people and to help them that way. Okay, we are going to be getting what could be seen as a bit of good news for rural post offices. That's after these messages.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
You find your imagination captivated on this swirling, vivid street art tour of Belfast City. Never seen anything like it, and yet you can't help but feel a familiar welcome about the place. Whole city is like a living, breathing art gallery. With each curious step, you discover something new. You think, shame there's not enough time to see more. Sure, if we want, we can always just pop up again next week. Enjoy great value short breaks at discovernorthernireland.com. Northern Ireland, a small step to a giant adventure.
When planning and visiting, please check visitor guidelines and opening times with individual providers. Always follow current COVID-19 travel restrictions. Available at nidirect.gov.uk.
You know it's time. You've been thinking about it, talking about it, and dreaming about it. It's time for a new car. Come visit iMotors in Malin and Letterkenny for a fantastic range of new and pre-loved vehicles. iMotors, your home for Kia and Nissan in Donegal.
So Good Juice is an award-winning, naturally homegrown juice shot. 100% organic juice offers a choice of 3 key ingredients. Wheatgrass, helping your immune system. Turmeric and ginger works effectively as an anti-inflammatory. Beetroot and ginger improves blood flow and reduces blood pressure. All great for boosting energy. Available in McGregor's Milford, McConnell's Ballybuffet, Daly's Lifford, and now in Ardra Butchers and McCarn's Raffo. So Good Juice. Start something good today.
CarsIreland.ie presents When Car Buying Becomes Catfishing.
What do you think?
I wasn't expecting the interior.
You don't like it?
Well, it's a lot of leopard print.
Cheetah, actually.
Oh.
Cars Ireland isn't just fast and easy. We only work with trusted dealerships, so you can find the right car without the unwanted surprises. CarsIreland.ie. Click, click, vroom, vroom.
On to the programme, we welcome Finola McBride. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Grace. Good morning.
And for people that aren't aware, you're executive member of the Irish Postmasters Union for Donegal. Okay, some good news for the viability of rural post offices. Tell us what's changing.
Yes, great news, Greg. Yesterday, Minister Heather Humphreys, she's the Minister for Social Protection, she announced yesterday in Dublin that there will be a return of the new job seekers payments to the post office. So that means those people that have been on the PUP payment and moving over to job seekers in a few months' time will have to attend in person to the post office. So that's a great benefit for us, really, because it's going to increase the footfall in the post office. So we did lose a lot of customers, during the COVID, and of course there's been a reduction in our work. So this is welcome news. It's actually a step in the right direction for us.
And do we know, Finola, if people will have a choice or will they be obliged to visit the post office? Because I
don't think they have a choice for the new job seekers. Possibly not for the first 6 months. I don't think they have a choice. But no, they don't. As far as I know, they don't.
I mean, this comes at a time too, doesn't it? As there's an awful lot of investment in the post office network, presumably to shore it up, but to try and secure its future viability.
That's exactly right, Greg. We need this increased footfall. We need our post offices and our rural communities. Minister Humphreys showed us yesterday that she's behind us, and that we have to try and now encourage more government departments to get behind us. There's actually a working group set up within the government, an interdepartmental group. Minister Hildegard Naughton's behind that, and she's trying to source offline services from different government departments for the post office. We need it. With us, if the post office closes, we know that businesses will be affected, and it's just more unemployment. But basically, as Hildegard, Heather Humphrey said yesterday, that it also reduces fraud as well.
Yeah.
The people coming into the post office.
And do you think if the right changes are made and that there's an adaptation there, that maybe, particularly I think with banks exiting the market next and our towns, that and with an emphasis on remote working, so in other words, not everyone's centralised in the big urban hubs. Do you think that maybe there could actually be a period of growth for post offices if the right decisions are made now?
Absolutely, because as we all know, people are moving to rural Ireland, and they need to have a post office. They need to benefit from benefit from the services, because we actually do a lot more than what people think. We do all sorts of banking now. We actually now have Bank of Ireland on board, AAB, Ulster Bank, and also our own An Post current account. So people that are now moving out of the urban areas, they need to be able to access all these services, and the post office can provide it. We just now need to continue with the government and lobby them and say, please give us more offline services, because there's a lot of people don't have access to computers and stuff, and they still need that one-to-one communication with the postmaster. And, it's very important that we keep open. And as I say, it helps other local businesses as well.
And I suppose too, there's a messaging job to be done there too, because there are people that may not have stepped foot in a post office either ever, or maybe for 5 or 10 years. I mean, you have to make sure that people know, what's available, what business you can actually do in a post office outside of what you're somewhat obliged to do. And I don't mean that badly, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're trying to get more advertisement, and An Post there is coming in and doing door drop-offs to let people know with their mail what we actually do in the post office, and that's coming on board. We did it there before Christmas. We just need to get out there all the services we provide, and we provide a lot, and we can do more if the government will give it to us. But yes, we're getting it out there what we can do, and just hopefully that we continue to grow in the post office.
All right, thank you very much for your time this morning. Okay. Nice to speak to you. Take care of yourself. That's Finola McBride there, who's executive member of the Irish Postmasters Union for Donegal.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Salento Strabane is having a massive end-of-season clear-out. 3-day blitz this weekend, including Sunday 1 till 5 p.m, clearing all top brands at massive discounts. Tommy Hilfiger, Gant, Guess, Jules and many more. With up to 80% off, don't miss this last chance to pick up a bargain at Salento Strabane.
At your local Centra, we have great offers like Meridian Crunchy and Smooth Peanut Butter 1 kilo, half price now $4.94 each. Centra Fresh Irish Sirloin Steak 454 gram, only €5. And until Sunday, Heineken 20 bottle box, only €23. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Are you thinking of changing your car? Then look no further than Inishowen Credit Union for your finance. It's simple. A car loan from Inishowen Credit Union means you borrow the money to pay for your car and the car is yours. No hidden fees or balloon payments. Apply online at www.inishowencu.ie or contact us on 074 9361017. Membership of Inishowen Credit Union is open to anyone who lives or works in the Inishowen Peninsula. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Ireland is leaving diesel behind, and Kelly's Toyota is leading the way with our incredible range of self-charging hybrid electric cars. We've amazing offers, including contributions and trade-in boosters. And with 46 years of experience here in Donegal, you can trust us to help you on your electric journey. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota, Ireland's best-selling car brand. Visit Kelly's Toyota Mount Charles or Letterkenny today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, our factory price leagues exclusively reveal which factories paid the best prices for your cattle. For more, here's Paul Mooney.
Find out where your factory ranks on price. We reveal the €128 per cow milk price gap between Arnua and the co-ops. Farmers should cull bottom 5% of animals to save on fertiliser bills, says Teagasc. And Tim Cullinan insists cap outcome is not a defeat for IFA.
Plus, don't miss our calves focus, only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Now we welcome on to the programme Liam Mulligan. Good morning to you, Liam. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm not too bad at all. Right, you were out and about and you received a speeding fine. Tell us about it.
Well, you were talking about Donegal town being like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yes.
And for ourselves, going to Dublin, of course, that section of the N2 between Emmyvale and Monaghan is a bit like shooting fish in a barrel as well. They improved the road and then reduced the speed limit from 100 kilometres per hour to 80 kilometres per hour. And if you drive at 80 kilometres per hour in it, you're probably holding up traffic. But, as you know, it's the whys and the wherefores of these things. Why did they set out to do an improvement on a major route for us, a key route, and then reduce the speed limit on it? And
how long is the stretch, Liam? Sorry, just for those who aren't aware, how long is the stretch between Monaghan and
15
Emmyvale?
kilometres or something like that.
And it's 80 kilometres the whole way?
It's 80 kilometres the whole way. They did it in 2 stages. It was the last section in the M2 side to be brought up to national route level. I mean, it's still far short of where we would want it to be. But it was the last section. I remember 10 years ago I was at a conference. And I ran into the chairman of the NRA at this conference and I asked him if they were leaving that route deliberately to remind us what the roads used to be like when the roads in the south were even worse than the A5, you know?
Yeah.
But so they improved it. They improved the first section from Monaghan to the church at Corracrin and they reduced the speed limit. But the section from Corracrin into Emmyvale, this is a shorter section, they hadn't improved yet, which was the more dangerous section, and they left the speed limit at 100 kilometres per hour until they improved it, and they improved the alignment. Now, they didn't improve it very well, but they did improve it.
Can you see if it were properly advertised and people were going in there with the eyes open, can you see the justification of that stretch being 80 kilometres?
No, I can't see the justification of that stretch being 80 kilometres, and if the old section was left at 100 kilometres, even when the new section was being improved, if Lifford Manor is still 100 kilometres per hour, then I don't see the justification for it being reduced to 80 kilometres per hour. But, you would think that if they're going to spend money on the road, on a single digital national route, they would spend the money that would allow them to operate it at 100 kilometres per hour at the specified national route speed limit.
Yeah.
Now, that's the sort of thing, and I feel this is an issue for the Northwest. It was about the same time ago, I had a go at a conference at a Belfast man who was a professor in the University of Westminster saying regional development doesn't need roads. And I said, if you have ever been on the A5N2, you know that regional development needs roads. And the funny thing about it was this last Friday week in the Irish Times, Professor John Fitzgerald of ESRI was writing the importance of restoring air connectivity into Dublin Airport to get all the flights back that we used to have there and the importance of that for our industrial development. Well, we have the same issue here in the regions. We need that connectivity, and we need to demand that connectivity. The A5N2 has been talked about for 20 or 30 years at this stage, and it's still far, far, far from having any idea.
But much of the A5 progress has been stalled by objections, which have ended up in some of the highest courts in the land. Are you saying that process should be circumvented and railroad the road through because of the benefits it would have for the Northwest region?
No, I really am saying it should have been started earlier. There are issues about the validity of a lot of these objections, and it is a problem with all linear infrastructure, whether it's the power lines we need to power our factories and our shops and light our homes, whether it's roads or whether it's railways. These objections are going to happen. They have to be dealt with. And of course, it's a thing with our politicians. They're not interested in setting up a streamlined system that deals with genuine objections and deals with them quickly. They would rather let the whole legal system run. And of course, we do have a problem in this country that the lawyers on the bench tend to always see that there is a need for things to go through courts.
Well, know why that is. I just wonder in terms of road development, I'm not sure there's a consensus in government in the Republic as to, the future, where money is going to be spent. We will be told, no, you're going to get your roads, don't worry about it. But the policy would suggest, and the policy is enshrined almost, to say that, more money is going to be spent on public transport than might be, or quite a large amount of the pot is going to be spent on public transport. But we're so far back. Exactly. We're never going to have a public transport system in Donegal, for example, that will ever really mean you don't have to have a car of your own.
You're putting your finger on it, Greg. We need better roads now. We needed better roads yesterday. We need infrastructure maybe to go with them to make the cars more sustainable. But we need better roads now. At the same time, for 2050, we need a strategy. We need to sort out the roads so that we have a 2-hour connection from Letterkenny Derry to Dublin Airport. We need that for bringing in investment into the county.
And we need safe roads as well.
And they need to be safe roads.
We need safe roads because obviously it's great if you can get somewhere quicker, obviously. And listen, I'm not saying that you're not considering the safety aspect of it, but just I'm throwing it in there as well, Liam. What is an acceptable level of, it's not just the loss of life, it's life-changing injuries on some of these roads.
No. But I'm a family man now. When I go out that door in the morning, and I've been propagandized and brainwashed in health and safety. When I go out the door in the morning in the car, if I'm going a route, my duty is to come back home safe. That's for my first duty to my family, is to come back home safe.
But you need road conditions to be assisting you in that, don't you?
And you need the road conditions, all road conditions, and the N56 and the N14 and all of those roads have to be brought up to a state that allows people to be able to say that I will safely be able to come home in a reasonable time safely. That's the first thing.
I mean, the historic lack of underinvestment, ripping the railway up. I mean, we had this amazing rail network. It's actually heartbreaking when you talk to people and they tell you about how they got about. Yes, listen, if you live in a certain part of Donegal, you're going to have to find a way. You would have had to find a way to have got to the railway, right? I mean, obviously, it didn't go through absolutely everywhere, but we had this amazing rail network. We have got no decent roads up here. We've got no motorway. We've got an airport, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, and this is not a criticism of the airport, but I would be pretty much at Dublin Airport from where I live before I got to Donegal Airport. Now,
you'd be better going to Sligo if Sligo is still operating.
No. If I have a private, a little airplane, a one prop.
No, I've flown into Sligo. It was very enjoyable.
Well, I can imagine so, but I'm not sure it was a commercial flight, Liam.
Well, it was a PSO flight, obviously.
Really? Was it? I wonder how far back we have to go for that.
It was about 20 years at least.
Okay.
It was even further. It was 20 years.
It would be Sligo would be much more accessible to me than
they were all stopped at 2008, 2009.
But anyway, that's a sticky plaster. It's roads and rail that we need.
Roads and rail, but I come from having worked on an association with the Metro projects, with the Lewis projects, talking to colleagues in Germany, in the UK on rail. That is the next point for the 2050. We need to start building up the alternative to the car.
All right, but let's
Rural
just say...
Ireland has been created by the car, and it's condemned to the car for another 50 years. But unless we invest ahead, instead of constantly investing behind, which is the Department of Finance's preferred option, we are going to be stuck. And we need the arterial routes.
We do, but that's not going to happen, Liam. What's going to happen is say you've got a pie and 60% of it has to go on public transport and 40% on road development, okay? What do? Do you look and try and build a rail road up to Donegal and onto Derry, or do you extend the Lewis by another 15 kilometres? You'll have the public transport box ticked, and it'll all be nice and handy down in Dublin. Do you know what I mean?
I understand. That's my problem, and that's my problem. I am very pro-green, but the fact is things have to be done. Regional development, the economic plans and national development plans for this country see 1 million new people in the country by 2040. 1 million new people in a country of 5 million.
I would say you could. I would say we'll get to that much quicker, particularly with the pressures on the labour market.
With no natural growth. So this is a huge demand. Now, if they keep saying we have to solve and build Dublin problem and build Dublin, half or three quarters of those will end up in Dublin, just making the problem worse and worse.
And also,
we've got this strategic view that we've got to get things, and Peadar Tobin has been pushing this very strong. Dublin needs the regions to develop. It needs good quality public transport into the region.
I get you, but I think with the way things are going, dare I even say the direction of travel, Dublin's probably kind of worried about what that city will be in 10 or 15 years if it's being depopulated by workers. And also too, you can tax us out of cars, right? But you can only do that morally if there's an alternative. You can't tax us out of cars. What are we supposed to do? Shanksmare? I don't think so.
This is the problem with heating and with cars as well, is that they can tax us slowly out of them and make it more and more dear, but we need capital to actually do the things that enable us to change over. And the people in places like Donegal are the people that are most vulnerable.
All right, Liam.
Don't have the capital to change over, but it has to be a complete change of attitude in centre in the Department of Finance. And we need the Greens to accept that the regions need things.
Yeah, we also need the government to not sit in Dublin, and we need it to move so they have access to civil servants that aren't completely and utterly Dublin brainwashed, because it's clear now they make the decisions.
The centre, the ministries have to be moved out.
Okay.
So at Loan or wherever to stop them with that attitude.
Liam Mulligan. Liam Mulligan of the N2 party listening in Donegal. Thanks for joining us. Nice to chat to you. Sorry to rush you. It's just we're right up against the news at 11. I appreciate it. Take care. Bye. I'm sure we'll chat again.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Beat the cost of Brexit and no customs charges. Do you need a UK address? For your limited company or personal use, Space Hub in Derry can provide you with your own virtual office or mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Space Hub and collect at your convenience. Also brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock. Ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook or spacehubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for details.
Treat yourself or a loved one to a Clarence gift of beauty from McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Purchase 2 Clarence skincare products, one to be a moisturiser or serum, and you'll get a choice of 4 treat-sized essentials from a selection of 8, together with a gorgeous cosmetics bag. Which 4 will you choose? Available while stocks last, in store at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
From our soils, our sustenance, from our farms, our food, from our farmers, our ingenuity, from our villages, our unique communities, our meats, our grains, our vegetables, our dairy, our eggs, our fruit. There is a little piece of Ireland in everything we produce. An Agri-Aware and Irish Farmers Association initiative promoting environmental, economic and social sustainability. Learn more at sustainingireland.ie.
As the exclusive sponsors of the Donegal Sports Star Awards, Donegal County Council takes this opportunity to wish the committee every success with their virtual award ceremony, which will be streamed live on their Facebook page at 7:30 p.m. on Friday evening, the 28th of January.
Nutrius XL Yo with Lamb and Nutrius Yo with Lamb Crunch are both formulated to ensure a vigorous lamb and excellent milk yield. Avail of our lambing season offer: 25 kg bags, buy 10 get 1 free, and €10 off per tonne in bulk. Available at your local Homeland store. Offer until March 31st. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
Okay, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking about the science of living longer and a healthier life. That and much more besides. But at 11 o'clock, it's time to get an update on the latest news. And we cross over now and say good morning once again to Catherine Gaffney.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Seanad has been told that giving people the right to ask if they can work from home is meaningless in many rural areas where the rollout of broadband is still a long way off. Independent Senator Eileen Flynn said Donegal and other rural counties should be prioritised in the National Broadband Plan rollout, but instead the county is one where almost nothing has happened so far. Concerns have been raised about the checks and balances in child and adolescent mental health services. It comes after 46 children were found to have been significantly harmed after being prescribed inappropriate medication by a junior doctor in South Kerry between 2016 and 2020. Meanwhile, Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty is calling for a comprehensive mental health strategy for young people. Speaking during statements in the Dáil on youth mental health, Deputy Pearse Doherty says the evidence is clear that much more needs to be done to support young people. A man will appear in court this morning charged in connection with an attempt to collect a dead man's pension in Carlow last week. 66-year-old Pater Doyle was brought to a post office in Carlow Town by 2 men last Friday morning, but staff became suspicious when attempts were made to claim his pension. He was found to have died that morning. There were 57 people awaiting admission to Letterkenny University Hospital this morning, according to the INMO, a rise of 3 on yesterday's figure of 54. It is once again the second most overcrowded hospital in Ireland today. A bill which would see a person convicted of stalking face up to 10 years in prison could become law within weeks. The Fianna Fáil proposal would make stalking a standalone criminal offence for the first time in Ireland. And the Foreign Affairs Minister has warned the consequences for Russia will be enormous if the country invades Ukraine. Russian troops have been meeting on the border amid rising international tensions. Warships are also on the way to Ireland to take part in military exercises off the Cork coast next week. That's it for now. We're back with a further update for you at 12 noon.
Okay, Catherine, thank you very much.
You have one new message. Hi, Claire. Auntie Dee here. I just wanted to say a big thank you for skipping my party. We had a great night, and everyone was so happy you didn't come. Now you take care. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. I've been asked to play a request for Lena Doran, Cunningham. Happy 97th birthday. That comes in from Ellen Carlin. Hope you have a lovely day and are treated like the diamond you are, Lena. Thank you for that request. Also, as it relates to the conversation we had earlier on about it was a lorry carrying bales of hay. The bales of hay struck a branch. The branch came down. It hit a car. €2,500 worth of damage. The caller is in a bit of a quandary because, they might have to claim it on their insurance. And they'll pay back. They'll pay it back. You know that. It's going to come out of their pocket. Whose fault is it? Well, this caller believes the owner of the tree has to pay. Now, I don't know exactly how that would work. If it's rooted in a field, are you saying the landowner would have to cover the cost? I don't know. Right. Now, someone emailed in fact, Andrea, and it is the dumping of tar. Now, if you put your hand over the tar and look behind it, it's the most beautiful scenic view of Donegal's wild landscape. But unfortunately, it is marred and tarred. It's marred by asphalt being dumped. And where is it? I can tell you, it is at Donegal Village. They say, good morning, please see attached email about the unsightly dumping of tar and asphalt in the area of the outstanding beauty at the entrance of Donegal Village. Right. I don't know what's... I mean, it's done on... I don't know. Is that stripped off a road? Is it an old pavement, so to speak, or what? But it is a beautiful part of the county, of course, and it is very, very unsightly. I wouldn't imagine it's fantastic for the environment either. So if any of you have an insight into that issue, where the problem is coming from, text us on 086 60 25000, 086 60 25000, or call us on 07491 25000. Now, just to remind you that if you wish to view the programme, you can watch the show if you want to. You're more than welcome to do so. You go onto our website, highlandradio.com, and you will see there at the top there's an option to click in, and you can watch the programme on YouTube there. You don't have to have a YouTube account. Or you can watch us on Facebook as well. It's Facebook, Highland Radio News and Sport. You can search there, or indeed Highland Radio. And as well as... watching us, you can chat with other viewers there across the various platforms, and we appreciate those of you who tune in every single day. It's very much appreciated. And just to remind you to get in touch with the programme, you text or WhatsApp 086 60 25000, 086 60 25000. That's good for your WhatsApps too. Or you give us a call on 074 91 25000, 074 91 25000. Many of you still, of course, like to email. It's still quite contemporary. So wherever you are in the world, if you want to email the programme, it is comments@highlandradio.com. And would you believe we still even get letters into the programme? And the way you get in contact with us that way is just, the 9 till noon show, or Greg Hughes, Mountaintop Letterkenny. And we appreciate all the contact we have on this programme. And we can help you with issues too. We're working on a number of things at the moment, but often people will contact us, with a problem, and it gets resolved before it goes on air. That's what we can try and help you with as well. If a business, or maybe it's a local authority, or the ESB, or Ryanair, or whatever it might be, often a situation can be resolved before it even gets on air. So feel free to get in touch with us with anything to see if we can help you. What is it with people on Twitter and, politicians particularly, or business people, or, people in authority, 10-year-old tweets, where they've used maybe racist or misogynistic or just downright controversial comments. Firstly, you'd wonder, you'd question their ability to be in such a position if they don't realise that they could be found out and that they should go back and delete or close their account if they've written that kind of stuff. But anyway, 3 Sinn Féin Stormont Assembly members this time have apologised for historical tweets containing offensive language. Fermanagh and South Tyrone MLA Gemma Dolan, South Down MLA Sinead Ennis and Mid-Ulster MLA Emma Sheeran said sorry yesterday. They came after historical tweets containing derogatory and offensive phrases and language were unearthed by BBC Radio Ulster's Nolan Show, which effectively means they went on Twitter and searched their accounts using certain keywords, and then the tweets popped up. Sinn Féin Deputy Leader Michelle O'Neill condemned the tweets sent by her party colleagues and said they were not accessible, or they were accessible, but they were not acceptable. She added, "They have each told me they deeply regret their language used and will apologise." Now, of course, things were perhaps very different 10 years ago, but still, and it's not one particular party either. It seems to be right across the board. Okay, let's see if we can say hello to Professor Rose Ann Kenny, who's joining us now. Can you hear me, Professor? No, we're having a slight difficulty there. I'll tell you what we'll do. We might take actually an extra little piece of music whilst we get that technical issue ironed out. Here is Maroon 5. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back. Alright, that is Maroon 5 there and This Love. Now, a new groundbreaking book on ageing featuring findings from the cutting edge research by Professor Rose Ann Kenny's extensive career in the field of ageing is going to reveal why and how some people live longer, fitter, healthier and happier lives than others. And I'm delighted to say Professor Rose Ann Kenny joins us on the programme now. A very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us, Rose.
You're very welcome. Good morning.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, like, say, for instance, I think the life expectancy in this country is in the low 80s, 82 or 83, something along those lines. I mean, for us, for most of us, is it a realistic expectation to reach that age?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, on average, absolutely. And the demographic data is showing that it continues in Ireland year on year to increase lifespan, so that, I mean, I equate it to it's 3 months per year. So a baby girl born last year, born this year, will live 3 months longer than her sister born last year. That's kind of a simplistic way of looking at it, but actually that's how the demography pans out.
All right. Well, we can take the average, but just on an individual basis. I mean, you know, there are certain groups of people, maybe it's because of their lifestyle, live longer and live healthier lives. What is it down to? What is the differences there?
There are certain groups, and actually a lot of the information we've got around the processes that drive aging is predicated on some of the communities that have lived extraordinarily long lives, live into their hundreds and beyond, but don't just live, become older more frequently, but are actually in better physical health and mental health than one would expect of that level of longevity. The blue zones are, a typical example of that, where 5 areas in the world, very, very separately apart, which is really interesting geographically, and yet they share the common features which we now know determine the pace of aging. The zones are in California, in Costa Rica, Sardinia, Ikaria in Greece, and Okinawa in Japan.
All right, and what's different there to everywhere else?
Yeah, well, what's different there? Well, first of all, it's notable that they're all by the sea and all on an elevated height. That's the first thing to say. And then there are some characteristics which are common to all of them. Probably one of the most striking ones is the sense of community in blue zones, the egalitarian approach. And in some of the households, 2, 3, 4 generations are living in one household. One researcher who sat in the kitchen of someone in Sardinia who was over 100 remarked on it was like being in a train station. There was so much activity around the place, people coming in and out all of the time. So fantastic communities, fantastic engagement, never a dull moment.
Yeah.
And then the things we would expect, like predominantly plant-based diet, low or no sugar or salt or processed foods. Exercise is kind of woven into their daily activity. It's part of the fabric of daily life. So it's not something one consciously does for an hour.
But with that in mind, okay, say for instance, that it wouldn't have been uncommon, I would imagine, 40 years ago perhaps, for someone to cycle through 3 or 4 counties to go and watch a football match in Croke Park, and would be well capable of doing so. But now, if someone were to do that, it requires lots of training, and it'll probably be done for charity or something along those lines. Yeah. Yet we would have a longer life expectancy than the people that were clearly naturally healthier or more determined, I don't know, 30 or 40 years ago.
So some of the factors that have changed, which actually do influence that, are stress and less stress in our lives. And we believe it or not, it mightn't feel like it now. COVID will be an interesting experiment when we explore the impact of that long term. But generally speaking, stress is less evident in our lives today. Medicines are much better. Technologies are much better. We're doing earlier prevention and screening, detecting cardiovascular disease particularly. I mean, in the 40s and 50s, cardiovascular disease was a big killer in men. There's less smoking. I mean, then people didn't know what we know now about smoking, and untipped cigarettes, woodbines were not uncommon even in those cycles.
When you think about it,
I agree with you that sort of physical activity was integral often to daily life, and of course a lot of manual work was obviously integral to daily life.
So you gave the example towards the beginning of a sister born last year compared to her sister the year before, and her life expectancy would be 3 months, which over the course of the year is really quite significant. Can someone in their who's in their teens or early 20s make lifestyle choices that would see their life expectancy align more to the newborn of last year? Or
absolutely, and this is a really important area. There's a fabulous study called the Dunedin study, which is kind of like our Tilda study, but instead of starting at 50, they started at birth. And they took 1,000 babies born in the 1 year and followed them as we do every 2 to 4 years. They're now 44. And what they noticed was that even as early as age 20, biological changes are setting in which determine the pace of aging and determine the likelihood of getting diseases earlier in later life. And some of the drivers for that accelerated aging at such an early age were, adverse home circumstances, adverse childhood experiences, poverty, alcoholism in the home, divorce or separation or disharmony in a home, etc. So it does start early. Now, But definitely the science shows that the earlier you start to intervene and to modify behaviors that we know are really good to slow the pace of aging, the much stronger the effect will be.
But then the curveball is genetics too, though, isn't it? You know, some of us are predisposed to stuff, so with the best will in the world, it comes in at us like a wrecking ball.
I won't ask you to guess on air what contribution genetics plays. It's quite surprising. It's 20%.
Okay.
But only 20% of our aging process is determined by genes. But you're absolutely right. There is a misconception that it's much higher than that. 80% of the aging process is modifiable. That's kind of the message of the book, and detailing the things that we can do, you know, but the comradeship, the friendship, that's fun. You know, a lot of the things that we can do to at a cellular level impact aging are fun. Laughter. I mean, most people probably don't realize the positive biological effects that laughter can have, and repeated laughter, particularly with friends, is really good for de-stressing and reducing background inflammation biologically. So, you know, laughter, having a purpose in life.
Yeah. I just, and that purpose, talking of purpose, you know, and you mentioned the pandemic, and, you know, this could be, regardless of what your view might be, right? This is not having a go at anyone in particular. But, you know, I do see people who are or passionate or even angry. It seems to be 24/7. You know, and I just wonder what impact that might have on your physical well-being. You know what I mean? Like it might be something that keeps you going, and or you know, you're so passionate about it. It doesn't matter the consequences. You'll keep fighting and what have you. But all that energy that goes into it, and especially now with the fact that when you are sitting in your house, you're probably doing it on your phone as well. It has to have its toll on you into the long term, doesn't it?
So we do know that your outlook, whether you're an optimist or a pessimist, whether you've got a positive emotional disposition or a negative emotional disposition, does impact on longevity. Probably influences longevity by 7 years, actually. This was nicely illustrated in the nun study, where they had letters from a convent of nuns who were now in their 80s when they were being studied, but they had letters when they were novices and before they were fully invested. And the tone and the psychology behind the letters were explored by researchers, and remarkably, the nuns who displayed positive emotions, a positive outlook, were kind of lighthearted about things. They were the nuns who lived longest, but significantly also were less likely to get dementia.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. And this is all the background, and there's a wealth of it, and you've got so much to draw on it. And we're going to talk about why people should buy the book. Yes, to get all this information, but maybe things they can change to prolong their life, and not just their life, but to have a better, happier, longer, and healthy life. So we'll get to that in a moment. But it's interesting that you do see certain groups of people, like you mentioned, nuns, who live longer. So let's start talking about, we can't all become nuns. It's not practical. It might benefit us, though. So let's talk about what we can take from all of your research to implement in our lives. And do you know what? I think even if we didn't live longer, we might enjoy whatever time we have. We might enjoy whatever time we have left more anyway.
Yes, that's the latter statement aligns well with Denmark, where they have a much better quality of life overall. They invest in children and adults, but they don't have the highest lifespan in Europe. They have one of the highest, and the reasons they don't have the highest are they do quite a bit of drinking and smoking. But out with that, their quality of life and other behaviors are, you know, very, very chime very well with everything positive we're talking about. You said, what are the other things? I think how you perceive yourself aging really matters, and you alluded earlier on to COVID and the attitudes and approaches, and I was very much against, and this was on an international level, this isn't in any way a national issue, the fact that internationally, if you were 70, you should stay indoors. The message that sent was, you've reached this number, which we know now is irrelevant. A number is irrelevant. You've reached this number. You are no longer needed in our society. You can stay indoors. You know, there's nothing that we will miss about you from a societal perspective. I thought that was very negative.
Yeah, but that is not really surprising, is it? Because, you know, I mean, you could probably look at the statistics and likelihood and who is more likely to succumb, but it's a very broad, it's a very sweeping statement. Are we not conditioned by throwing people effectively on the scrap heap at 65 in countries? In other words, that as soon as you hit that age, you know, like you could be the top reporter in RTE, but as soon as you hit 65, that day you're now surplus to requirements, and that's just an example, by the way. That's not having to go with RT because they're conforming to. So I mean, it's not surprising that it's open season to say that, you know, Cocoon off that old film Cocoon, where old people were cocooned. You know what I mean? It's not surprising that became acceptable.
No, I know, but I'm just making the point, and it's a very ageist attitude. Yeah. You've raised a really important issue, which I do cover actually in the book. This business of compulsory retirement. It's illegal now in the States. It's illegal for any age, you know, and they gradually introduced it with different ages, and now there's no age limit for retirement in the States. And I'd love to see us moving much more towards that in Europe, but in Ireland we should be, in the public services you've alluded to. You know, life gets better after 50. That's the evidence. We're wiser. We're less stressed. We don't have the other life circumstances which put pressures on us and make us miserable. They've dissipated, but we've also got the life experience which makes us better able to adapt. All of the data shows life just gets better after 50. And
youth is wasted on the young. Is that what we're saying?
No, it's true, but I mean, it continues to get better. Anybody over 50 who's listening will say, I get what you're saying. On average, it continues to get better quality of life up to about 80, and then it only falls off if we get physical illness. That's the only determinant which changes those quality of life metrics. So I think how you perceive yourself matters, and the societal message it makes it very difficult to be resilient in the face of negativity and ageism.
I mean, when did it become acceptable, right? And this is talking to, when did it become acceptable to describe someone in their 60s or 70s or 80s that decides to go on the internet? When did it become acceptable to label them a silver surfer?
I know, surfer.
Do you know what I mean? Or when did it become acceptable to describe anyone over the age of 65 as a pensioner?
Yes. No. It's
I don't know. These are only little things, but it all layers on to.
No. Language matters. Language matters in terms of perceptions. And my point is, a very potent determinant of biological aging is how young you feel, how you perceive yourself. It's very difficult to be positive and resilient in the face of exactly the societal language that you've highlighted. Actually, a large study has shown that as people get older, they want to be referred to as older, not elderly, certainly not senile, not a pensioner, etc. Older.
Yes. Well, I stopped using, if I ever did, any of that terminology an awful long time ago. A couple of clips around the ear probably assisted in my transition into a change of language. But so what we've been talking about really, and I've jumped from pillar to post, and my apologies, but there's so much that's fascinating here. Be it the blue zones you talked of, the studies as it relates to nuns, our attitude, society's attitude, ageism, our own attitude, and all of that. You've gone through that and so much more, and you've created a book. Author of The Age of Proof, Professor Rose Ann Kenny, that's who we're speaking to, The New Science of Living Longer and Healthier Life. So we'll obviously get to read some of your research, but then we get to your suggestions of what we can do.
Yeah, so I think diet is well rehearsed, but bottom line, Mediterranean diet predominantly, low salt, low sugar, and no processed foods. That'll work, okay? Exercise isn't just aerobic. We have to introduce resistance exercise. That's weights, etc.
Can I just go back to the diet thing as well? Even on the most basic level, presumably, by the time you get to 65 or 70, or maybe even before, depending on your bowel as a function of an engine, let's call it, and your digestive system has worked an awful lot, hasn't it? You know, and anything you can do to ease its load through your life, but certainly as you get older, to make it have to so that it can work more efficiently on just the most basic level. That's why we can talk about the importance of diet, presumably.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter when you introduce diet. The earlier, the better, obviously. But, people say, I've been eating like this for a long time. I can't change that. That's not the case. The microbiome, which is the really good bacteria in the gut, which we all need and helps us with the aging process, actually can turn around within 72 hours. So it's never too late to introduce good dietary habits. The other thing, and also high fiber, and that's in the context of what you've just said with respect to helping our gut to transit foods. And the few other things that are worth reflecting on apart from diet is exercise. I've said aerobic, but also resistance training. And then I do recommend whey proteins. And I think the science is really gathering momentum in this area. People over the age of 50 need protein supplementation. You can get that in any health food store. And there are other dietary things I talk about, like supplements that you can take, not the common ones, but things like resveratrol. And then things like having a purpose in life, embracing creativity, volunteering, cold showers, which is a hormesis process, which is really good for the system. If you're a cold water swimmer, and I know there are a load of them on the coast of Donegal, including some friends of mine in Buncrana, keep it up, because that is so good for the...
Because I would have thought, if I'm even, now, you'd think the shock of it, the shock to the system. But that's good. That's what you want. That's
hormesis. That's the system. If you look at cells and you shock cells, actually shocking a cell alerts other pathways, good pathways, positive pathways, metabolic pathways within the cell. So a limited short, sharp shock is good. It's very good. And then, we've talked about friendship and having a purpose, etc. They're all things that lots of laughter. Laughter is biologically really good. And even rats laugh. A mother rat will tickle her young rat to get the youngster to laugh. So we've evolved needing laughter as a form of communication.
I don't know. I haven't had an opportunity to read the book, right? But a lot of this, I think people in the process of reading it might feel empowered, feel that they can take control. I think that we feel an awful lot of stuff is predetermined or predestined, that we can't change things. Well, you show people what you can change. Positivity, optimism. Do you know what I mean? That, everything's not a fait accompli, that you can give yourself the best opportunity. And even if it doesn't add an extra day to your life, that whatever you have left of your life, you'll live better and you'll be focused on more positive things rather than allowing the negativity to overshadow everything else. Was that your intention in writing the book as well?
The book, so the Tilda study, which I run, covers such a whole load, 4.5 hours of questioning and interaction with 9,000 participants over 10 years, collating the information of what drives the aging process in Ireland. And then I took that on a road trip to rural Ireland. And one of the best events that we had actually was in Letterkenny. It was fantastic what they put on. And I spoke about healthy aging and everything that the book covers. Afterwards, so many people asked me, have you written this down anywhere? Where can we actually get more information around this? So it was the translation of all of those research findings, over 600 pages or papers, that drove me to actually put this into a language that we can all share and understand and have ownership over.
All right, listen. I really find the element to the 20% genetics, because I think we lean on that an awful lot. So it's interesting, and so much more. It's all very interesting. Who do you recommend the book for? Where can they get their hands on it?
So all bookshops are doing it. I'm delighted to say I was informed yesterday that it was the #1 bestseller on Amazon for general biology last week.
Well done. That's an amazing achievement.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And it was only out 4 days at that stage. So yeah, all bookstores are hosting it in Ireland. To my knowledge, I haven't seen any that doesn't have it, and obviously then on Amazon.
All right. Listen, a caller says, in the past, nuns grew their own fruit and veg, and they are excellent cooks, most of them. The sisterhood, energy of self, belong, has soul and happiness. All this helps them live longer. We've touched on much of that already. Yeah. But it's not, you don't have to live necessarily that lifestyle to get the benefits. You can adapt much of that into a busy lifestyle. And then obviously the odd curveball. Gregor had a grand aunt who smoked Players Navy cut from the age of 14, smoking 30 a day, and lived to 94.
So there is your genetics. That's the 20%, you know, and that's a fascinating group for us as scientists to understand what is it about the genetic infrastructure in that particular individual and her others in the family who might have that same shared gene, which actually protects against what are undoubtedly really harmful effects of smoking.
Yes, indeed. I'm delighted for her, but I wouldn't use it as a sort of a study of one that allows you to do anything in your life. Listen, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's been lovely speaking to you, and I've found it really quite encouraging.
Yes, that's
as someone
the whole
who,
point.
as someone who would wonder what lies ahead. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Professor Roseanne Kenny there. She's the author of Age Proof, the new science of living longer and a healthier life. Okay, sounds good, doesn't it?
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Are you putting your business at risk by using an unlicensed contractor to service your CCTV or intruder alarm system? Licensed contractors comply with standards set by the Private Security Authority and undergo criminal record checking. It is against the law to employ an unlicensed contractor to service or maintain your CCTV or intruder alarm system. Businesses employing unlicensed contractors face prosecution and fines of up to €3,000. For more information and to find a licensed contractor, visit psa-gov.ie.
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
Ireland's best-selling car of 2021 is the Hyundai Tucson. And now the all-electric Ioniq 5 has proven itself with a host of awards. Ioniq 5 was named German Car of the Year, Auto Express Car of the Year, and European Car of the Year finalist.
Your local dealer is Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Call 91 22 600.
Restix Beds and Furniture, Ballyreen, Letterkenny, supplying only the finest quality luxurious Irish-made beds and mattresses since 1975. There's free delivery and assembly throughout the Northwest. Restix Beds and Furniture, the name you can trust. Call in and see their large range of beds and mattresses in their showroom at Ballyreen, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
Now, it is just turning 11:36. I referenced earlier the dumping of tar and waste in the Donegal area. And, you know, you could see the beauty of the area. It's for anyone who's been anywhere near it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you put your hand over the bottom third of the picture, that all remains. You lift it and you see this awful situation. Janice Ward joins us to discuss this. She's treasurer, by the way, of the Donegal Development Committee. How long is... describe to us more where this is and how extensive the dumping is, Janice.
Right, well, it's on the road from Dunlow to Donegal, and it's at the Onamaris bridge there. It's on both sides of the road, and the piles of tar seems to be multiplying. We seem to have like mountains of them now. You know, there's even grass growing over some of them. They've been there that long, but there are quite a lot of fresh ones in the last few weeks there. And apart from it being a waste of materials, it's unsightly. It's in an area of outstanding beauty, and you know, we have just taken over the Development Committee and Tidy Towns Group in Donegal, and we're trying to make our environment nicer. And then just as you come into Donegal, before the corkscrew, there's another pile being deposited there at the entrance to a little roadway. And it's like, they're thwarting our efforts of making any progress with the Tidy Towns entries.
Yes.
We're having a tidy up ourselves on the 12th of February.
Well, it must feel a little bit frustrating if you're going out with plastic bags, picking up rubbish, and asking people not to dump in a beautiful area, but you have this wholesale dumping of tar, which obviously would you would drop points on it. It must be hard to motivate.
Well, obviously, it's very disheartening. I mean, I don't think that those piles at Onamara actually come under our area where we would be judged, but the ones possibly at the top of the corkscrew there might do. And it's not just about our particular village, it's about the area in general and people's disregard for the beauty of the place. I mean, those resources, all that tar, could be used somewhere else. There are plenty of roads that need tar, and the area where it's been dumped, I mean, there's dumped mountains of tar beside potholes. A few more minutes, they could have raked it out and done a service.
Now, as far as you can determine, is this like an old pavement that's been lifted and a road resurfaced, or is this excess road surface that's just been offloaded here?
This is excess. There are roadworks that are going on this last while on the Dunlow to Glenties. There's a renewal of the road there that's being widened. I don't know if it is the actual crowd that's doing that, but it's very coincidental, and these piles, like I say, are multiplying, and it's surplus tar that obviously at the end of the day, if they haven't used it for where it was needed, they'd then have to go back to the yard with it, so they're dumping it.
All right, and it's not. I mean, it's not a insignificant, but it wouldn't be too big a job for this to be removed, presumably, and located somewhere else where it's not such an eyesore.
Well, no, it should have gone back to the yard, and if they've spent all day spreading tar somewhere, then they've obviously got the implements with them to spread it. So if they were going to offload it there, they could have at least just spread it.
All right. Have you contacted the council on this, Janice?
I think several people have. I'm sure that Micheál Colm Gillespie has been on to them several times. He was the one that actually suggested we contact you and the media, because this is a massive bugbear of his, and he's been fighting for these things to be dealt with for quite some time. This is like our contribution was to make the public aware via the media.
Okay. I mean, listen, there is important development work going on. Maybe this is part of it and it's temporary. And as that project comes to a conclusion soon, maybe its removal will form part of it. Maybe it has nothing to do with that either. We have to make sure that we don't attribute responsibility in the wrong direction. But in the absence of in the absence of knowing for sure, it's perfectly reasonable, I think, for the likes of yourself to try and speculate. But we'll try and get to the bottom of it and see what the story is. It just needs to be lifted and removed and placed somewhere else. Maybe it's fill, could be used as fill, whatever. All right, Janice, leave it with us. We'll see what the story is.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks very much, Janice Ward there, Treasurer of the Donegal Development Committee. We appreciate her call.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Brian McCormick's Sports and Leisure Letterkenny. Further reductions in the big winter sale with up to 50% off. Women's jackets, hoodies and leggings, reduced to clear. Men's hoodies and jackets, Adidas and Under Armour, reduced to clear. Running shoes for men and women, New Balance and On footwear, clearing from €99, a saving of €40. Check out the big winter sale in store at Brian McCormick's Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny, or click on bmcsports.ie for next day delivery.
What is it about Brennan's Be Good range that people everywhere are picking it off the shelves? Anya in Mayo writes, I can't believe bread this tasty has only 60 calories a slice. Shocked cat face emoji. Lovely. Well, if you know the Be Good bakers, you know nothing's ever good enough until it's perfect. However you slice it, anything baked is better with Brennan's. Brennan's. Today's bread today.
If you've recently had a smart meter installed, Electric Ireland has good news for you. Help reduce your energy bills even more with our new range of plans, like the Weekender plan, which gives you free electricity on either Saturday or Sunday. That's the free electricity sorted. Now all you have to do is figure out what day suits best. Search Electric Ireland smart meters to discover the right plan for you, because we're brighter together. Smart meter required, 12-month contract, early termination fees and T's and C's apply. See electricireland.ie.
With everything from pedal and electric ride-ons to go-karts and scooters, there's loads of fun guaranteed all year round at Tinny's Toys. If you've a kid's birthday coming up, Tinny's Toys can help make it special or get snow ready with a sleigh. Visit Tinny's Toys on Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online for express delivery at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, with so much more than just farm toys.
New this week in Home Store and More. All fitness is half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price fitness is gone, it's gone. Also, all rugs and all fireside accessories are still half price. But when all our half price rugs and all our half price fireside accessories are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The Lidl Big Baby event is on in store now. It's baby heaven. There's everything from our award-winning Loopy Loo nappies to your favourite baby brands like Mummy Cook's food flasks, Heinz baby food and Johnson's baby powder. Bring your baby down, they'll love it. Although if you're very lucky, they'll sleep through the whole thing. Lidl, shh, more for you.
Central Auto Parts are now stocking Sunny, a water-based paint offering all up-to-date colours for all vehicles, and Celimix Commercial, the perfect paint for diggers, plant and machinery. Buy it today at Central Auto Parts, Portslink Business Park, Letterkenny. Find us on Facebook or call us on 074 9127 491.
Whether it's a smart meter to better manage your energy, plugging into a greener type of fuel, or something bigger, with Bord Gosh Energy, you can go your kind of green. Discover more at boardgoshenergy.ie. Bord Gosh Energy guarantees that 100% of the electricity supplied to you under green plans is sourced from renewable generation, in accordance with the CRU Green Source Product Verification process. 10% green gas will be purchased in Europe from Guarantee of Origin certificates for green gas.
Start the new year by treating yourself and availing of the best finance offer available. Driving away in your new cars become even more affordable with 0% finance now available on the all-new Kia Sportage and Kia Ceed range. Call us today to book your test drive on 074 91 345 67 or visit imotors.ie.
Ar láitse an ghialaige a churthunkin. Tacian forest na ghialaige le pobl, daoine, grúpaí agus agrartaí chun an ghialaige a churthunkin ar fud Uillinn na hÉireann.
If you would like to promote more Irish in your community or business, to organise summer camps, festivals or youth projects through Irish and much more, there's support and funding available through Forest na Gaeilge.
Find out more on forestnagaeilge.ie.
Isi ar janga haini.
Okay, and you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Now, this caller says, hi Greg, regarding the egregious salary increase of €81,000 in a time when people are put to the pin of their collar, maybe having to choose between heating or food, seeing their energy costs going through the roof, the civil servant receives €81,000 extra onto his paycheck. It's unconscionable, proving that Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens can't spend taxpayers' money quickly enough. I just wonder, it'd be interesting to see if there is a change of government, if any of that changes either. I mean, we have seen successive parties claiming they'd be the watchdogs of government, or, you know, they'd change stuff, they go in and then they just go along with the way things always have been, or say, we didn't quite realise it was as bad as this and it will take years to change. The usual excuses. It will be interesting to see if that kind of stuff, if there were a change of government, becomes a thing of the past. I would have my reservations, but we'll see. Just went to Carndonagh Council office to tax a commercial vehicle belonging to a limited company. Had to get a form signed by guards, but no guards available in Carndonagh, Clonmany or Muff. A joke. This form should not be required for a vehicle belonging to a limited company, but they were unable to get access to a guard at that time. Another caller says, another 50 years before we have an adequate public transport system in Donegal. It's ridiculous. The climate chaos will be here long before that. Dublin, Cork and Belfast city centre and Donegal town will be flooded, if we are to believe what we're being told. A caller says Donegal doesn't start and end in Letterkenny and Derry. Public services should start at Mallinhead and end in South Donegal. The trains and buses all used to run this way. Many of the tracks are still there. We need to rebuild and use them instead of turning the whole lot into greenways. And in a few years' time, we'll be doing compulsory purchase orders on land nearby to refit the train tracks. No forward thinking in this county. Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think a lot of what you're saying there is probably true, but I'm not sure there will ever be a railway. There'll never be one that's profit making. The only way there will ever be a rail provided, say for instance from Sligo to Letterkenny and on to Derry, if that were the route, it will never, like it had before, go into the west, or certainly not up into Inishowen, I'd imagine, is if it was making money, and it probably never would. I hope I'm wrong on that. I don't think I'll live to ride a train in Donegal. Certainly, not. I mean, there are trains here, you know what I mean, the old vintage trains and what have you, but I just don't think that's going to happen. This caller says, I am 54. About 50 years they're chatting about a new road from Letterkenny to Lifford since you were 4. Yep, indeed, it's another thing. Sometimes you wonder, will you ever see the likes of the Ballabafay, Stranola, Bly, Bypass, etc. Please give my kind regards to the people who look after the food bank in Letterkenny. I, for one, can now put on an extra fire with the support I get from them with my food. Okay, that's lovely to hear. And the food bank in Letterkenny, if you have spare produce, always welcome of that. And there's a person that received that, and what they didn't have to spend on food freed up money to spend on other things like heat, which is very important. Right, we always look to the sky for a bit of a distraction, don't we? A mystery spooky object we read today, unlike anything ever seen before, was spotted by astronomers. As it spins through space, the item sends out a giant beam of radiation 3 times an hour. For 1 minute in every 20, it is one of the brightest objects in the sky. Boffins think it could be a neutron star or a white dwarf collapsing cores of stars 4,000 light years away from us. Dr. Natasha Hurley-Walker of Curtin University in Oz, that's Australia, said it was completely unexpected. It was kind of spooky for an astronomer because there's nothing known in the sky that does that. Uni student Tyrone O'Doherty discovered the object using a telescope and a new technique he developed in the Western Australian outback. He said, it's exciting that the source I identified has turned out to be such a peculiar object. Indeed. Okay. Right, now we are joined on the programme by Fiona Coyle, who's CEO of Mental Health Reform. And, Fiona, I mean, what's your take on the findings of that report published yesterday? It's good, I suppose, that it's been examined and that's been published, but it makes for very difficult and worrisome reading.
Yeah, no, it's I suppose it's a situation that's very worrying. I think, this story, it first broke actually in 2011, in April 2011, when the HSE came out that they were responding to whistleblower allegations of kind of adult dosage in children in Kerry, in South Kerry children and adolescent mental health services. So they've engaged since then an independent review, which the results became available just yesterday, and it showed, that the treatment of over 227 children were I suppose weren't treated in a manner that they should have been. So I think there's a real sense of fear perhaps in the country at the moment with those who are accessing the services, and we really welcomed, there was a strong response yesterday from the Taoiseach in terms of saying that they will audit the 72 CAMS services throughout the country, and as Mental Health Reform, we're waiting to hear the precise details of that audit, because we really need to build trust in the service.
It might not make for very good reading, Fiona, because we, like I would say pretty much every radio station in the country that has carried this story today, have been contacted by people, parents of young people, relating some very similar stories.
Yeah, no, and I think that's why, last April we called for a national review of mental health reform, because I think, when a story like this comes out, the parents lose trust in the services, and, we have no evidence, concrete evidence that's happening elsewhere, but we need to ensure that the checks and balances and all the safeguarding measures are being rolled out correctly. And that's why the details of this audit is really important. Like, what will it look like? Who's going to conduct it? And also making sure, it's really important now that information is available to the families who are concerned. The College of Psychiatrists, actually, in their statement, they give some really useful guidance questions that families could ask their services in relation to ensuring, that things are being done properly.
Is it not possible that what we'll do, though, we'll conduct a study? It could take another 10 years. Let's hope it doesn't. And what it will find is that, there is great demands on the comms service, for example, but people can't get appointments to see people for months and months on end. We've been speaking to people waiting for 12, 18 months. Then we'll hear, there aren't enough qualified personnel available, there's recruitment issues, and then we'll learn that we tend to lean then too heavily on medication. And we're going to spend ages getting to that finding.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think you've outlined a lot of the issues there, and this isn't just going to be resolved by another report. This will need serious leadership, to address some of those really primary concerns. Like, there are 72 CAMs around the country. There should be 100. Of those CAM services, some of them are only at 60-70% staffing. Families and children are waiting up to 18 months as a norm. Like, there are big issues that need to be addressed. And one of the things that we've been calling on, and we heard the Minister State for Mental Health call on it, which we were delighted to yesterday in the Dáil, is that there needs to be a director of mental health services in the HSE.
See, I also heard, from people within the medical fraternity, and it might not make for pleasant reading, but they're saying this was a junior doctor that was put in a position. They had no support, there was no oversight, and they were trying to do their best in the circumstance they'd been put in. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but it's plausible.
Yeah, that speaks to a complete lack of governance and support, which is what really come out of this. There was no case management, there was no data protection, and, the support that we're given to the families was really lacking as well. Like, all of that is true. There's no backing away from that, and, we will continue to hold the government accountable in implementing the 35 recommendations that came out of that report yesterday. And we really hope as well, it's a national, it's a national scandal. While it only kind of the report affects, children in a particular area in Kerry, like, it's a reflection on our national services, and that shame and lack of trust in the national services now will take a while to build back.
Well, that's the problem. You see, people are now are going to be nervous of any. Say, for instance, if a medicine is suggested or whatever, there's going to be a nervousness. Now, this is going to undermine, maybe that's what's required, but this is going to undermine those that had trust in the CALM service, the mental health services more generally.
Yeah, no, and I think, it's each and every child who uses our services, they deserve that care and the support. And, we're moving towards a holistic model where, medicine still plays an important role, but there's talk therapies, alternative therapies.
We have to have the staff and we have to have the facilities to implement that. It can't be by geography, it has to be countrywide.
Yeah, and it can't, at the moment it is a postcode lottery. Like, in some areas, there are wonderful services, and, in other areas people are waiting far too long. These are specialised services, and the people who are going to CAMHS, they need support, and they need urgent support in many cases.
And the staff within CAMHS need support as well, presumably.
Of course,
Fiona, yes, unfortunately the clock has beat us. I really appreciate your time this morning, and hopefully we can talk again in the future if that's okay.
Yeah, no, we'd love that.
I appreciate you accepting our invite. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. That's Fiona Cole, CEO of Mental Health Reform. That's all we have time for today. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, with the Friday panel, talking of all the big stories of the day. If there's a topic you want discussed, you can suggest on 086 60 25,000. And, of course, Michael and Fionnuala will be joining us and so much more besides. Chat to you then.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Download our new app today to apply and draw down your loan wherever you are.
If you've got magic moments or great memories captured on your smartphone, now is a great time to have them printed at mcgees.ie. Simply upload your